Hi everybody, I'm Zach from the FoundryCast.com, and normally at this point in the podcast you'd be listening to a silly outtake, but this episode is a little bit different. To celebrate our 20th show, we decided to record it while streaming live on our Facebook page. So that's going to mean a couple of changes from the norm as you're listening to this audio version. First of all, it's a little longer than normal, almost 3 hours. Second of all, it's a little less polished than normal, and some of the gags won't make as much sense if you're not also seeing the video component. If you'd like to see the full stream, it is archived on our Facebook page. But as always, thanks for listening and enjoy episode 20 of the FoundryCast.
We're live.
We are live.
We're live. Whoa!
What?
Extreme close up. Would actually have to move the camera to do that.
Yeah, no, it's too far away. Hi, everybody. I'm Zach.
I'm Cyrus. Welcome back to the FoundryCast. This is episode 20. We're just getting started. I think we're going to slow the gears just a little bit. I know there's some people who are going to be joining us over the next few minutes.
Sure.
We were already able to check out who's watching us already to some of our ride or dies. Thank you for being here
and watching with us.
No kidding. This is exciting. A little nerve-wracking, too.
Yeah, a little bit. We've done some streaming before, though. It's kind of similar. I don't know. We were talking before we went on the air. It's kind of weird because we're streaming live, but we're also doing a podcast. So it's it's kind of a different feel to do those two different things. So we're trying to figure out how much to go in one direction versus another.
And hey, if you're watching us, also, if you notice anything that's kind of funky about the setup or the audio or the video, just let us know. There's a little bit we might be able to do about that.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
Because this is the first time I've ever used Facebook Live. I don't know. Have you ever used it before?
No, I was... one of the things I was doing when I got into Twitch, my original idea was to use Facebook Live. I had seen another guy do it. He had this part-time job, so whenever he had free time, he would just click on his phone, stream himself making some foam construction pieces. It was really great, and it was really interactive, and I like that. And before I got into Facebook, that's when you and I started both messing around with Twitch. Yeah. So I sort of jumped over it. Even though it seems like it's a lot easier to do than Twitch, it has less flexibility.
It does, yeah.
But
a little bit.
To me, it felt a little more immediate because instead of me just broadcasting somewhere that my followers could see, Facebook Live is anyone who's a friend of mine.
Theoretically, I don't know. It was cute. When we started, again, I'd never done it before. When it started, it popped up and said, we're searching out viewers for you. We're looking. So, yeah, Facebook's trying its best to help us out.
I wonder if that has something to do with the keywords that we put in there.
Yeah, I put a few in. I don't know. We'll see if anybody arrives who was...
like hashtag style. What's neat is, maybe neat from your perspective, maybe not, but from mine it is. Since we are recording the podcast... we may edit areas that there's kind of a lull, or we just need a minute to burp or sneeze or something.
Ooh,
what?
Our background.
Oh,
sorry, that's been happening. Apologies. Ooh.
Ooh. We just gotta stay
green
down low.
Look at
gotta
that.
Stay down low.
Okay, maybe that's weird. Sorry. Yeah. So we're having. That's unfortunate. I might need to tweak something here.
Go ahead and tweak. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Tweak
I tell you what we'll
tweak
do.
A little bit.
I'm going to kick us over so I can edit this, and we'll be right back after I do a little bit of tweaking. All right, sorry about the interruption. I'm back. I put on another shirt so I can be more visible.
Do you like my shirt?
Huh?
Do you like my shirt?
Who said that?
Me.
Cyrus?
Yeah, I'm over here. Hey, I'm right here.
Where?
Sorry, I had to go back and visit Hogwarts. I had to get my cloak of invisibility. It's a family heirloom.
Anyway, yeah. Seriously, we're back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Cyrus found his cloak of invisibility, just in case.
Man, if I had one of those... Have we done that before? Have we talked about which of the Deathly Hallows you prefer to have?
I think we did a question of the day on our Twitter about that one time.
What would you pick?
Which one of the which?
Not the Deathly Hallows, sorry. The
three thingies?
Yeah. The Deathly Hallows. Yeah, sorry. I was
the
thinking
Deathly Hallows. I don't remember which one I said, actually, now that I think about it.
What would you say now? You can pick now.
Well, what have we got? We've got the sword, we've got the cloaky cloak, and we've got the what?
No. It's the wand. The Elder Wand.
The Elder Wand.
That is...
Wait, what's the sword of Gryffindor? That's a different thing.
No,
that's a Horcrux.
Yeah, we're talking about... That's Horcrux. That's what I was getting confused
Which
about.
is the other thing, then?
the stone that allows you to...
right, the Philosopher's Stone.
Basically, not the Philosopher's Stone.
No?
No, it's the stone that was in the locket, and that is what they hid it in the golden snitch, and that was what allowed you to basically talk to the dead, or not exactly bring back
I'm
the
not
dead.
going to lie, I'm not a really big Star Wars fan, so
Okay.
I'm kind of...
Fair enough. We've seen video evidence of that, too.
No, I'm just joking. I would, I'd probably take the cloak.
I'd take the cloak.
Only because the guy who chose the cloak was the one that didn't meet a really
It was the smarter
I
decision.
feel like it's the smart thing to do, but yeah.
And then I've heard so many of my friends tell stories about how they basically walked into a conversation office that they shouldn't have been able to hear.
Right.
And I would just wear that all day around a workplace and gather intel and just kind of be ahead of the curve with like, oh, we've got a special project coming down.
I would use it to sleep so that people wouldn't bother me.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah, they would never wake
Someone
me
just
up.
looks in the room.
Yeah,
No,
there's clearly no
gone.
one sleeping
No.
on that couch. Of course, then somebody could sit on me, and that would be unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how you doing? How are things going, Cyrus? You feeling good?
Okay, after that sip, I feel even better, yes. It's been a weird couple weeks.
Yeah.
Normally we start with the news, but as we know, people are just joining us.
Yeah.
We want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's going on with our website or with the personal lives. We've had a very eventful couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you had some computer fun.
Yeah,
the
that
last
was really...
couple days.
last couple of hours. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really fun. So yeah, I had picked up a couple new parts, some of which we're going to be using probably later this week on some videos, but I also got a new hard drive because of all the video editing I've been doing. I filled up the one I had. So I got a brand new hard drive, and this morning I was like, I might as well install that. And as I put it in, a wire bent the wrong way or something, and it broke the connector off on the edge of my solid state drive, which is my hard drive, my main drive for my entire computer. So I lost everything. Well, I didn't really lose everything. I lost Windows. So I had to spend most of this afternoon reinstalling Windows, which was not much fun.
Nice, relaxing.
Yeah, it
afternoon
was
just
exactly
shot.
the opposite of relaxing, unfortunately. But yeah, aside from that, everything's gone well. The new hard drive works beautifully. I've got a bunch more room. And also, the item that I ordered, like I said, that we're going to use later in the week, works beautifully. I got a new video capture card.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Because we're still in the midst of Retro Gaming Month, and we're going to play some more retro games and do some more videos on that. We just released the first video of that series a couple days ago.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun to make. However, we've already started learning very valuable lessons, things that we kind of knew before, but it's one of those, it's safe to swim after eating. I'll be fine. We got a copyright strike.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
not a strike.
No, it's not a copyright strike.
Not yet. We're far from a strike.
Our first video on playing retro games, we decided to play Mario 3 because it's a classic. It's
Sounds
a seminal
fair.
work. It's great to start with. Nintendo is notoriously protective of their IPs. On YouTube especially, they're very grumpy about their copyright stuff. So they didn't strike it. They didn't take the video down, which is nice. At least our first video wasn't immediately taken down. But what they did is they claimed it as their copyright work, which technically is true.
It isn't, though.
Well, the game is. And so what they've done is they've monetized it. So if you go watch our first video on our YouTube channel, it'll have ads on it.
Or it could have ads.
It could have ads on it. And any revenue from those ads goes to the big N and not the
And
us.
that was our big moneymaker. We're so in trouble.
That one video was going to... it's not a huge deal. It's kind of annoying. I was more worried when I first saw it because I thought it was a strike. But yeah, going forward, we'll see. Actually, Nintendo has something called I think it's the Content Creators Program or something. You have to sign up with them and be part of their network. And if you do that, then you can monetize your own videos.
And that's something we're going to be researching over the next week.
So
Did a
we'll do
little
that
more
down the
research
road.
behind the scenes myself. What's kind of neat is YouTube has finally made it a little bit more user friendly when it comes to that. So it's not you're automatically shut down, you're automatically taken down,
can
and
claim,
then whoever makes that claim can sort of be generous. It's like, yeah, you're using our stuff, but it's harmless, so we're just going to take your ad revenue, but you can still have the video if that's going to get popularity.
Which is what Nintendo's doing. Some other companies don't do that.
But Nintendo didn't do it. They have software.
Automatic software.
But you know what it is that caught us? It was the theme music. Because there were gaps where we're not talking.
That's probably the case, yeah.
That is the case.
It flagged a specific section of the video. It's like a 10-second section. And I wasn't sure. It could have been the gameplay itself, but because we were layered in front of it, I don't know. But yeah, it could have been the audio as well that it hit on that.
It's weird for Let's Plays, and so we could refute it. We still could.
I'm not going to.
Here's the thing. If we show that we have... It's in review, but Nintendo's one of those where they are more sticky about it. Other companies would, even if it triggered automatically and we say, no, we're doing a review, they'd look at it and go, yeah, you are, fair enough. They're not trying to screw us over. It's just what they do to protect the rest of their content. And I understand that. So I kind of want to fight it, but once you start to fight it, that's when you can get that strike.
Right.
3 strikes, you're
we're not trying to rock the boat right now. No. It was more of an experimental video than anything else. So, we learned a little bit. What I thought was really interesting, though, the copyright claim wasn't by Nintendo of America or Nintendo of Japan. It was by Nintendo Deutsche. It was the German division of Nintendo that claimed it. So it's definitely a automatic bot that found it. I just thought that was interesting. So.
Oh, by the way, I may be looking down the barrel of a divorce because of how bad our Harry Potter knowledge is right now.
I was going to acknowledge that we are getting a few comments as we go, and we're trying to watch our setup. We're kind of spaced out a lot. But apologize. To be fair, your Harry Potter knowledge is fine. I'm the one that I genuinely don't know.
I'm working on it. When I was on that cruise, we went to a Harry Potter...
you went to Harry Potter World.
No. I want to go.
You guys didn't go? I thought you did.
No, we went to Orlando for the night. So we went to the downtown Disney with all the shops and things.
Gotcha.
We went to
That's
Lego.
right, because you went to Lego shop.
Yeah.
That's right.
But we didn't go into any of the theme parks there.
No.
But they on the cruise ship, they do like quizzes and things just to fill up an hour.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we need something for these people to do all day.
Got them trapped in here.
Yeah, we got to make them drink more and sit down, and you don't want any idle time because that means dissatisfaction. Even if you're going to a stupid show, you did something and you had fun. So we're like 100 people squeezed into a lounge on the edge of the casino, and then just one of the people who were part of the entertainment crew just is walking around with a microphone with a piece of paper that you can see as she walks by, asking questions. And
not a secure trivia.
It was no.
Okay.
And people were cheating like a mother father. Like there were a couple questions. There was about 2 questions that were legit crazy tough. And if you knew that, good on you. But likely you're going to get at least one of them wrong. And we had a pretty good showing. We forgot one of the Weasley brothers. There's just so many.
The one that died?
No, we remember that one. Spoiler.
Remember when that happened?
It was one of the older brothers. It wasn't Charlie. It wasn't Percy. It was Bill. It was Bill Weasley. Couldn't remember Bill. But we got everybody else.
That's not a real Weasley.
Bill didn't do anything. He's a Weasley. He's a true-blooded Weasley. He's just not important and hardly ever mentioned in the books. Yeah. So we got, we did okay.
Does get the girl in the end, though. Does get the girl in the end, though.
Bill does?
Well,
Weasleys
in general.
Yeah, Weasleys, they get the girls.
They do. I mean,
they might smell bad. They might be dirty gingers.
Except for female Weasleys, they get the protagonists.
For odd reasons, just because it fits.
Because we need somebody to pair up, and anyway.
Well, but there was a point in the story, and that was, I thought I knew a lot about Harry Potter, but some of these questions, like, what was Lord Voldemort's mother's name? But if you know it, if you love the series, you're going to get it right.
Ginny Weasley, that was her name.
It's okay. I forgot the name of one of my actual uncles. I'm not going to say who that was since I said it out live over the air, but one of our viewers forgot their own uncle's name. Cheers. Happens to all of us.
Speaking of computer problems...
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! So yeah, my laptop decided to update, and since the update, it broke my wireless. And it's like, oh, you need to go online and get a new driver. How am I going to do that without my wireless? So
then you have to plug it up.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try and fix it later. I'm kind of bummed because I was going to have this handy for us to be able to look stuff up. I guess for now, that ain't going to happen.
What else is going on with us? We had a meeting of the minds here last week.
We did.
And I call it phase 2. I figure that if Marvel can have phases where like their stories, not the story arc ends, but they kind of move into the next phase. Yeah. I thought that's something that we're looking at here sort of with our podcast. We've learned what works and what doesn't. We figured out what we enjoy doing and what's sort of like pulling teeth.
Yeah,
so
we've got to a comfortable point in the podcast. I mean, this is obviously an experiment to do it live, but I think we'll still get the similar sort of products. But yeah, beyond that, we've kind of settled in some nice formats for some videos we're going to move forward with, and we've been able to reach out to make some fun connections locally and online. So
that's been part of the most fun, and it's also really scary to get out there and do something that's beyond your comfort zone. I find that a lot of nerds, geeks like us, we seem really adventurous, but you put us in a totally different environment, we kind of clam up a little bit.
I think for me especially, I don't know about you, but the only reason I am at all adventurous is only because I've gotten old enough to be. Like, my natural tendencies are still not to be. I'm slowly starting to get to the point where I'm old enough to where I don't care anymore about being embarrassed, but I'm still embarrassed. But I just don't care anymore. So kind of, I don't know.
That's kind of like, well, I'm gonna wear the dad pants.
I'm gonna wear my red and white Hawaiian shirt. Well, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I'll wear a Hawaiian shirt all day, every day.
I don't care. I care enough to where I'm wearing this to cover my gut, though.
You can't really think about you, but are you gonna go up on stage and do karaoke?
Depends on the song. I'm not a good singer, so I wouldn't. Eric Richardson Hutchison Miller. Sorry. It says, "Hey, Cyrus."
Yeah, Eric Richard Hutchison Miller Davis Jr.
Oh, okay.
Eric, hey, thanks for checking us out, buddy.
Thanks for joining us this evening, and thank you to everybody else who's watching with us. And as we go along, feel free to leave comments. We'll be trying to keep up with that as we go, although we're also trying to focus on recording, so it's kind of two things at once. But
just a bit of a teaser if you're joining us now and you're going to be with us for a little while. We'd love it if you threw some questions our way, maybe about the topics that we're talking about, or maybe just something that you want to know, maybe about us, maybe about the website, anything at all about what we do. We'd love to answer them for you. And then at the end of the video, we're going to pull from those questions, and there are going to be some prizes for some people. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, so feel free as you come and go this evening, ask us questions, ask things that you want us to answer, and you might get rewarded for it. Try and keep them reasonable, though, I will say. Favorite flavor of ice cream is a fine question, but it's not going to really fit.
I told you that I got a question. I got that from a girl once, and she said that she evaluated guys based on their like it's like a yay or nay, like the first date question type of thing.
Okay.
And she asked me what mine was, and I went blank, so I said vanilla. Okay.
Not knowing that the girl's name was Vanilla.
Vanilla. Her name was Vanilla Bean McAllister.
Okay. That's my one dad joke.
That's your one dad joke?
My one of 800.
It's funny that your joke was actually about something very plain and boring.
Anyway, this has been the Vanilla Cast. Cheers to them.
I tell you what I told her. I said, it's because you can put all kinds of toppings. It goes with everything. Yeah. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's a good answer.
See, as long as you show some thought. I tell you what, before we start properly on the podcast, which, you know what I didn't do is cue up our music. We're not going to have our music. I mean, we'll add it in after in the edit, but I should have had it ready for us to play. Whatever. I guess I could pull it up, but anyway,
we'll do it live
because we'll do it live because this is a nerd podcast.
Yes,
and it wouldn't be a nerd podcast without an unboxing. Let's do an unboxing really quick before we start.
Right.
We've got some major, huge unboxings to happen. Whoa, we got a couple fortune cookies. Thought it'd be fun to crack them open before we start. Get a little energy and also get a fortune.
And if you listen to our podcast for a while, we had an entire unboxing, and it all got deleted, right? Mm-hmm. Like every cool little thing we did unboxing.
Yes.
The Cracker Jack unboxing that we did, like all kind of cool stuff.
We did a really fun, which I still might want to do another one in the future, another unboxing along the lines of the one that we shot but didn't release. And I might still release that one.
We need to release the one we did with the big box.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if we happen to find ourselves in the woods, we might need to do another one of those. Might be fun.
This is the Forest Cast.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Fortune cookie. Do you read the fortune first, or you eat the cookie first?
I usually take a bite of the cookie.
Half the cookie in?
Whatever breaks. You do half cookie, then you read. Okay.
You go for...
Working together works.
Yeah.
That's sad. That's... What was the one?
It's not a fortune.
What's the one that Gil got? Oh, like 1 million spider silks can still entrap a lion.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's 1 million spider webs. Like,
again, not a fortune. Just
not really.
Okay. This, however, is correct. Okay. You are a man of righteousness and integrity. This cookie knows me well. Oh, wait. Again, not a fortune.
No.
Also, what if a lady opened this? Come on, fortune cookie company.
Cookie knows. Cookie knows.
Oh, you think it would have been different?
Woman opens it up. Boom. You are bountiful. Your lips are sweet as berries.
Why you gotta go physical?
Because that's true. Because it wasn't a fortune. Neither was yours.
Yeah, it's true. No, get out of here. Get out of here. Yeah.
Even if it's a terrible cookie, even if it's dry, I usually try... No, those are good. I usually try at least a little piece. I don't know. I don't know where I developed this, but for me, tasting of it, it's almost like good luck for... Like if it's your birthday and you had a cake and I already ate, I would have a little piece of cake just to taste it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm doing you good luck. Like
yeah, you have to partake in this.
I'm partaking the ceremony, if you will.
Sure.
And that's me giving luck to you, or me honoring what it is that we're celebrating. Same thing with a cookie. I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to finish it, but I'll have a bite, and those are pretty good. I'll save it for later. No, you can't have it. I'm gonna eat later.
We've got other delicious snacks.
Yeah. I'll eat my cookie and have my W&Ws. I love W&Ws.
W&Ws are our sponsor. No, I'm just kidding. They're not a sponsor. We're joking about that. Okay. Well, I'd say let's go ahead and get rolling on the episode 20.
Yeah, let's jump into the news.
Okay.
Boom. All right.
I'll let you lead off.
Well,
because I think you have most of the news today.
I was collecting some things, and there's some stuff that was really interesting to me.
Okay.
While I'm not much at all a fan of DC movies, I enjoy them okay, but they're not in my favorites.
They've not been good. So the recent ones have not been.
Yeah. Although I think Suicide Squad was funny, but it was clear. It was badly edited. They took out important stuff you need to have. They put in stuff that you're like, well, they had to add more humor. It wasn't the funniest movie. How boring was it if they had to add more jokes back into the movie?
Right.
But I am a fan of DC television.
Yes. We talked about this before. I think the TV stuff they do is a little bit better than the movie stuff.
Well, Arrow, it's about the Green Arrow. Stephen Amell is the lead actor on that. He is one of the most in-shape people in Hollywood. Does so many of his own stunts.
It's only because I'm not in Hollywood. That's true.
And you remember he was working with the WWE for a short time. Because he had a feud.
Yeah, and didn't he come out in the Arrow outfit?
I don't think they could do that.
I thought he did.
I think they could say he is the Arrow in the show, but I don't think they could do full costume. But they had him feud with Cody Rhodes, who was Stardust. Yeah. But Stardust was like this super villain, and it worked perfectly. And then on the show, they had Cody Rhodes play one of the villains.
Oh, he was actually on the show?
He was on the show.
Oh, that's cool.
I can't remember the name of his character, what the DC character was, but basically he got all these toxins in him and he couldn't be hurt. So he was indestructible. You could kill him, but you cut off his arm, he's going to keep moving, he doesn't feel it.
Gotcha.
And it was a great role for Cody because he got to act a little crazy, but not too much. But Stephen Amell, and I saw this on Facebook is what caught my attention. He did American Ninja Warrior. I think they did a celebrity version.
I saw something about this. Yeah. I didn't immediately recognize his name, so I didn't pay. But yeah, he was on. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And you think, okay, yeah, he's in shape, but this is American Ninja Warrior. No, Stephen Amell is the guy who does those kip ups. For real, he's
just for fun.
He's super fit. And it was celebrating Red Nose Day. So the show is going to air May 25th, and Red Nose Day is a charity that Walgreens runs. And I saw the video. I thought, good on you, Stephen Amell. And they show you about half the course, and he's doing that leap. I can't remember the name of the first stunt that they do, but they leap on one little platform, another platform, and some people will just bounce back and forth. He looks real unsteady, and you're thinking, oh, this is going to go. No, the next 3 obstacles he does like a champion. So I'm excited to see that when it airs on May 25th.
Right on.
Also, a thing that's exciting for me is the podcast Nerd Poker.
Yeah.
It's run by Brian Posehn, who's a comedian, actor. You've seen him on 1,000 shows, even if you don't remember who he is. If you see his face, he's usually the really big 6'5", lumbering guy. His hair's receding, kind of reddish, and he has a voice like this half the time. He's phenomenal, and he's really great in the community of Dungeons and Dragons more than anything. Yeah. And his podcast ran for about a year and a half before like Geek and Sundry were really hitting their marks.
Yeah.
So it was kind of one of the pioneers before Penny Arcade even. But it was just a podcast.
Before they started doing their D&D
before they,
stuff
they did it live anyways.
Yeah, right.
Because this is sort of a group of people including Patton Oswalt and
hey, good news! I fixed the wireless on my laptop.
And Chris Hardwick is part of this group of friends. But they had to stop the show. It was too difficult for everyone to show up. They were doing it in a studio in Los Angeles, but they brought it back with a couple of the original people. So it's Brian Posehn, Dan Telfer, Blaine Capatch, who is a writer and comedian. He does At Midnight. He's one of the head writers for At Midnight on Comedy Central. The show that's At Midnight.
I have not seen that. I don't.
It's right up your alley.
I'm sure it is.
And Ken Daly. So it's pretty recognizable guys.
The golfer?
No, not Dan Daly. Ken Daly. He's another comedian that you saw his picture. John Daly. Sorry.
He and I share a physique. I'm just teasing.
So there's only 3 players and the GM, but they have special guests. And the first one they have, Joe Manganiello. Big beefcake, bro.
I feel like I remember that guy, the name, but I don't. It's not sparking. I need to get into that because, like, I remember when it was on and everybody was writing about. I never watched any of it, and I'd like to go back and maybe it's a good time to jump in and start with a new series. I don't know.
It is. There are only 6 episodes in, and what's funny, and we talked a little bit about it before, just because it's a podcast and the way they set it up. They're just running it out of his living room or his dining room.
Oh yeah,
so you can hear his dogs just kind of their toenails clicking on the hardwood floor.
Yeah.
You hear his son come in and talk to him for a second. They have a Casio keyboard that his son's. That one of the guys, Blaine Capatch, can actually play piano.
See, that's an
he's
idea.
Like, blah, blah, blah,
that's an
blah,
idea
blah.
for a future podcast. Maybe have some musical instruments and some props.
Well, that'd be fun.
We occasionally have a cat sighting, but I haven't had any tonight.
Yeah, if you're gonna see a cat, it's gonna be right here behind me.
Possibly here, but probably there. They like you better. You smell better.
Well, I'm their fun uncle.
Sorry, I'm going to jump onto our Twitter while we're going. And
tweet away.
Tweet out again that we're doing what we're doing because I remembered I hadn't earlier. So
here's something fun that our good buddy Jason was talking to us about here the other night. Is The Witcher.
Oh yeah, the new Witcher movie.
It's a series.
Netflix.
Netflix is starting to put together some really great shows. I think they're sort of they're cutting edge. Amazon's still doing some stuff. Hulu's still doing some good stuff.
Well, Amazon has Top Gear, which was up and down, and they have a few other things. But yeah, Netflix seems like they're the king right now of the non-TV, whatever you want to call this.
That's where they're putting their money.
Content.
And well, they're saving money because they are starting to pull some fan favorites away. I think if they ever pull away The Office, they'll fall apart. But they did lose other huge fan favorites like, I think Friends was pulled, MASH was pulled, there's another, Scrubs. I think
Scrubs
if it hasn't been pulled this month, it will be next month.
I think it was last month, isn't it? Or just did.
Those are hugely bingeable. People are doing that all the time, but they're saving the money and they're putting in new shows. Sure. The Witcher, as we discovered, not going to be based on the video games necessarily. It'll be based off the 8-book series and maybe some of the other short stories connected to it. So it sounds as if nobody connected to the games is going to be involved in the new series. It's just going to be the TV development group, and then the writer, I cannot pronounce his name, some crazy Italian-looking name.
He's Polish.
Polish?
I believe it's Polish.
There's extra Z's in there. That's why I said Italian.
I believe that's Polish.
He's going to be a creative consultant.
Actually, it just popped up here. Andrzej Sapkowski.
Okay, yeah, that is not Italian.
I'm trying my best on that one. I don't speak Polish, so. But we were just.
You don't? It says speaks Polish fluently in your bio line.
I lie on my resume.
Your resume.
Like crazy. My resume also says I'm a trained nuclear engineer. I'm a trained chemical engineer. So.
I don't know if I told you.
Yeah.
In a recent job interview I went to, they ask you, what your
shoe size?
Scrubs. Yeah, Gillian says scrubs. Yeah.
Yeah, we were asked on the cast list on The Witcher. I'm looking that up as well.
Yeah, nobody that I recognized first, and they're not using the voice actor who does the main character in The Witcher,
right.
So it's going to be a whole fresh cast. But it looks like it's going to be very, very true to the book. So for the fans of that, so back to resume.
Yeah, sorry.
It actually asks you what was your parents' job? What do they do? And I wrote,
that's interesting.
My father, he's a rocket scientist. No, seriously, I don't know his. Rocket engineer, aerospace engineer,
rocket surgeon.
He's a flippin' rocket scientist. Yeah. But I'm excited to see The Witcher. I like the games. Okay, I never got to play them beginning to end.
I think I played the first one partway through. They're fun. Especially the first one's really rough around the edges, as a lot of games that come out of Eastern Europe are. It also is really, really, really creative. As most games come out of Eastern Europe are. So
I think the third one
really
came
cool.
out in 2015, was it? 2015, early 2016.
Yeah, it was. I know it was prominent last year. It may have been right at the end of 2015.
And it was in a lot of magazines, other publications, called that the game of the year.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's that's what I was saying. The first one was really rough. They got it better in the second one, and the third one was supposed to be really nicely done. I am not finding a really good cast list right now for The Witcher, by the way.
Yeah, there's still very limited information about it.
There's nothing out about it. IMDb has nothing. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
I think you and I talked about this other Netflix series. Because we were talking about worlds that need to be reinvested in or may not translate well. And it's Dark Crystal.
Yep, I saw the announcement there.
I am thrilled about this. They did a teaser for the news.
I haven't seen the teaser yet.
Teaser is
I'm
good.
ready to check it out. Yeah, I saw some news. This was big with Dragon Con because they do. Jim Henson's son usually comes and they work with. There's I think it's called Atlanta Puppetry Museum, but there's a really Atlanta Center for Puppetry, something like that. They do a lot of work with them on. Last year they did I think it was Labyrinth, big thing with all the creatures from that. So they're pushing hard on that. So I'm sure that'll be big for them.
Well, Louis Leterrier is going to be the executive producer. He was the producer of Catch Me If You Can, so he has a very good eye for cinematography. But he is also in love with that world and that scape. So Jim Henson Company is going to be doing all the puppetry and animatronics for that. And Brian Froud, who was the original conceptual designer, is back for this series. So it is going to be a prequel to the movie that we know and love. Set, I think I read somewhere 10 years, but it may be more than that, in the past. And it has to do with 3 Gelfling. It's not Gelflings, apparently plural is Gelfling.
Okay.
3 of the little people.
Yes.
And they discover a plot that the Skeksis are trying to amass power, and they're trying to start a rebellion to go against them. So I think it's another 10-episode series or something. Should be a lot of fun, and I may have to keep my Netflix subscription after all for something like this. It's going to be a while till it comes out, but sometime 2018.
Netflix is the one thing. Well, I take that back. I do still have Amazon as well. I mostly have that for Prime though, for the shipping option. But you also get subscription to that. So, but Netflix would be the one to keep out of all the subscription services, I think.
So, how did you enjoy Board Game Month?
I had a lot of fun.
Got to play some new things.
Played some new games. Bought a new game out of it because it was a game I'd already wanted forever, and got a chance to play it and confirmed I liked it. We got some, I don't know, but Board Game Month for me was more on the FoundryCast side of things. It was more experimenting and learning about recording and connecting with people. We worked with our Well Played, which is the local board game bar here in town.
Yeah,
which
big props to them. If you
both,
do live local here in Asheville, it's a really cool board game cafe.
It's a really cool place. I think what I like about it, I would say that the place could be bigger, the seats could be more complex, etc., whatever the case.
Right.
What's great about that place is the staff. They've been super nice to us, but like they're ultra knowledgeable, they're very friendly. It's a great idea for, a place to sit down and learn new stuff, learn new games. So it's a fun opportunity. Check it out. If you have the opportunity, you and I are both monthly members now, which you discovered there's another benefit we didn't know about, a nice benefit that we're going to get.
But you got to go there to find out what it is.
But yeah, it's been fun. I need to go back. I might even try and go back later this week and hang out for a while just to play, just to be there because it's fun.
Well, I have a couple board games that we want to play and record.
We do.
But I have a new board game coming out that I think you're going to love.
Okay.
It is a new version of Clue, Golden Girls edition.
I saw the Golden Girls Clue. So who dies?
Nobody dies. The mystery is who ate the last piece of cheesecake. What room did they do it in? Yeah.
What fork did they use?
What fork? Yeah. What plate did they use or something? They're also, because Golden Girls has seen a huge resurgence in popularity, because that risque humor still resonates, because you think, it's about a bunch of octogenarians living in Miami.
Which it is.
It is, but it's also
they're also
raunchy
doing
as
some other
heck.
stuff. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
But they're coming out with a Monopoly too, so that one actually might be
Blanche Street. I don't know. I'm just waiting for the Perfect Strangers edition of Risk. Then I'll be happy.
Just different sides of the apartment.
It's just two sides. It's Balky and Cousin Larry.
But instead of tanks and things, it's little sheep.
Sure.
And
you could take over. What's the? I feel really bad. What's his island?
I can't remember.
You could be taking over his little island.
Balky. The fact that I know his name is Balky Bartakamus is enough for me.
They don't make them like that anymore.
They sure don't. I have two last things sort of in our little news segment. The first one is the new show coming out on Fox called The Orville. You hadn't seen the preview for it yet, because I mentioned it briefly.
Yeah.
It's the new Seth MacFarlane show.
Yeah.
It has two things going against it. One, Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah.
Two,
Seth MacFarlane.
Fox. It's on Fox.
Also Fox, yeah.
However,
if it's good, they'll cancel it, and if it's bad, they'll make it run 48 seasons.
If I could make a TV show based off of a sci-fi premise that didn't get used beyond its initial outburst, that would be Galaxy Quest.
Agreed.
This show is very much like a love letter to Galaxy Quest. It's got that kind of humor where it doesn't take everything too seriously.
Yeah.
And then it pokes fun at the tropes of sci-fi shows.
Yeah.
So I watched the preview, and I thought to myself, I wish I didn't already have a feeling about Seth MacFarlane. Because it looks okay.
I love the idea. If they could make more Galaxy Quest, that's great. My problem is that just knowing how I feel about Seth MacFarlane, yes, he's always had references to old, to stuff we love. Mm-hmm. He's always done that. Mm-hmm. It's always felt like he's making fun of those things. It's never felt heartfelt from him. And maybe that's just because of his personality, just the way they
just tell that kind of glib and
it's like
sarcastic.
It's not, man, we sure did love Transformers. It's, hey, remember Transformers?
Right.
Yeah, it's the Napoleon Dynamite complex, where it's joking about nerdy stuff and making fun of it. Whereas not like, if you and I sit here and joke about Snarf, we used to watch Thundercats, so we think it's hilarious. We love it. You can joke. You can joke about your friends because that's coming from a place of love. You can't joke about strangers and be nice about it.
I think the only time they did that right, I think the only time they did it the right way, on Family Guy was the Star Wars special.
Yeah,
because it seemed like it was actually made out of love for the thing they were kind of riffing on.
Yeah,
as opposed to every other episode.
I can agree with that. Yeah, the Star Wars, but the others, we'll see. Like I said, I shouldn't pass judgment.
Well, this show they pulled his character. The ship's called the Orville. And they say, you're going to captain the ship. He's like, oh, thank you. I've always wanted this. They're like, well, we've got 3,000 ships in the fleet, and we have to staff them with somebody. And he gets on the ship, and it's your normal sort of bright, shiny ship. Nice design. Sure. It is very much inspired by Star Trek.
In the Star Trek movies.
You can't deny that. His co-captain, or his second in command, is his ex-wife.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, kind of funny. I cannot remember the actress's name, but she was formerly on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Just big, blonde hair, like strong, feminine, sexy physique.
I honestly don't know that.
And you just look at her standing beside him like, no, she would never even date that guy. No. Not going to buy that. But the crew, they have their Klingon type guy, and they have their Vulcan type person.
Yeah, the emotionless scientist.
And in the preview, there was an emergency, so he runs out the corridor and he steps in this big yellow blob. And he turns around and says, "Oh yeah, sorry, dude." He starts coming back together like, "Yeah, it's no problem. Go on." So there's still a little bit of that Family Guy cartoonish humor.
Yeah,
but I'm willing to give this a shot. I don't do that for many Fox shows.
Live action.
Yeah, it's not that ugly cartoonishness.
I'd almost say I kind of would rather have Seth MacFarlane be live action because I feel like he'll be less annoying.
Well, yeah, he has to
when
be
he's not. He doesn't have the ability to do random gross out stuff as easily.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, well, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see. I'll give it a chance. I'm not going to dismiss it completely out of hand, but I'll go into it kind of expecting certain things. Kind of like going to see a Adam Sandler movie. Or kind of like going to see a DC Cinematic Universe movie.
Yeah, you got to go in. I'm not going to dismiss it out of hand,
but I'm going to kind of expect.
Just be prepared.
Yeah,
you might get something great.
Kind of the opposite of Rogue One.
Well, we'll talk about that another time again.
Last thing, nobody wants to hear what I have to say about Rogue One.
Definitely not.
I'm the only nerd on Earth that thinks it's.
That's not true.
No, we have one friend that agrees with me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry. What was your last bit?
Well, this is something else that you and I were talking about offhand. We were like, no, stop. Let's save it for the podcast.
True.
Star Trek.
Yes.
The new Discovery.
Star Trek Discovery.
It's a prequel.
Yeah, it's sort of.
This is pre-Kirk.
It's between Enterprise and the new stuff.
It's between Enterprise, Enterprise and
the new Trek, which is the old Trek. It's between Enterprise and original
I don't think
series
this is
era.
connected to the cinematic universe.
It's supposed to be in the original universe. It's supposed to be in the
Star Trek
because it hasn't
show.
Split yet. It doesn't split until the new 2009 start. Whatever.
Right.
That's when the timeline split. So it's pre-split.
It's starring Sonequa Martin Green, who I love. Did a wonderful job in her run on The Walking Dead. And also Michelle Yeoh is the captain of the ship, I believe.
Yeah, which I'm confusing because I know we talked about it on the podcast. I thought it was reported that Jason Isaacs was the captain. But I don't know
she might be the admiral.
It's not entirely clear what's going on. It could, things could be up in the air on that.
But you had a very interesting thing you noticed about the preview. Remember what you said?
No. What did I say?
What is the inspiration for this show, stylistically? Star Wars.
Oh, no, yeah. No, I think it
is in the world of Star Trek, but cinematically, they're going for less of that sterile...
Yeah. I'll say, well, okay, so first reactions, I think it looks really bad. And I say that not because it necessarily by itself as a single property looks bad. I think as a single property it looks meh. Okay. Yeah. It's grimdark. Okay, great, sure. Everything else is it feels like Rogue One and the DC cinematic universe. We keep bringing it up. It feels like kind of like we're going to take ourselves seriously, and everything's a little bit more brown and gray. Mm-hmm. Okay, sure, that's what you want to do. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That can work. Work great for the Chris Nolan Batman movies, for example. Mm-hmm. That tone can work really, really well.
And if you're watching or listening, and while we're describing it, if you've seen the Star Trek Discovery previews and you have any statements on it, if you have any questions, please leave something there in the comment section. Sure. We'd like to be able to talk about your opinions if you've seen it, if you like it.
And that's true throughout the night as we record. If you want to add stuff, feel free. We're going to try and watch our contents as much as we can. But, anyway, sorry. So I was going to say, I think it looks bad because it is absolutely not what Star Trek is. And this is my huge problem with the new movie. Like Star Trek, JJ Trek, the first one. The second one sucked. The first one is a really fun action movie. It's sure. The performances are good. It's fun. It's not a bad movie. It's a terrible Star Trek movie. It's awful. Because Star Trek is something that is a really special property. Mm-hmm. Now, that property's been devalued badly since early 2000s, since Enterprise, really. I mean, Voyager didn't help it much, but Voyager still felt like Star Trek. Enterprise was starting to teeter, especially later seasons, and then the new Trek, Abrams Trek came out. This feels like it's that same thing where it's made by people who don't understand what Star Trek is. I don't have a problem if you want to make a hyper-realistic, grim, dark...
Hey, John, keep it clean, you jerk. You're so fired from Friendship.
I don't care if you want to make a super serious, grim, dark sci-fi show. That's fine. I mean, Firefly, to a certain extent, has that more grim tone. That's fine. That's great. That works well. That's not what Star Trek is, and it never was.
What is Star Trek?
Star Trek is, first of all, pure science fiction, which this doesn't seem like it is. It might be. It's pure science fiction. It's speculative topics. Yes. But Star Trek is also a utopian ideal. Star Trek is about here's science and progress of humanity and exploring and learning and bettering yourselves.
And I agree.
And that attitude that the trailer seems like it has is action and struggle and fighting and Klingons are here.
Well, that's because we have to have action and stuff in shows. Like now, if it's purely speculative, people aren't going to watch it.
But everything is 100% that. If you have a little bit of that in there, sure, okay. A little bit of that's fine. Some of the better episodes of Star Trek Next Generation had some action. Sure.
What I think they need to do is purposely bridge that gap. I don't think this show would do it. But how does it go from the world we know that's action and crazy and drama? How do we get to that ideal society? What is it that it takes? What safety do we have from the Klingons? What is it that we can do to get to the point where all we're worrying about is scientific and academic pursuits?
Yes, but here's the thing. With the original series, they had reached that point. Mm-hmm. Before that series had started, at some point in humanity's history, they had reached a post-scarcity society. That's one of the keys to Star Trek, is that physical things don't matter anymore. We can make whatever we want with a replicator. Mm-hmm. All that matters is you person. That's all that matters.
Me person?
You person.
Me person.
You person is good. Cheeseburgers, good, but we don't have to worry about our cheeseburger. We just got all the cheeseburgers we want. So by the time we reached Kirk, we had that. Enterprise was a really great idea of...
It's such a good idea.
What happens to Earth society the moment we achieve that level? What do we do now? And they just screwed it up. And then they didn't...
They got too caught up with the timeline continuum.
Trying to be... Too many different people... Too many cooks in the kitchen, I guess, really.
Well, they were so worried about chasing the demographic to have more... to have the main lead actress dress scantily, and the only person who had more costume changes than her was 7 of 9. 7 of 9 had 19 costume changes, apparently.
They did have a good dog, though. Best dog in Star Trek.
That was a great dog.
Anyway, though, so the problem with Star Trek isn't... It doesn't ask the question of how did we get here.
Right.
It is, we are here, what do we do? What does an ideal society do? How does that operate? What do we think about? Because it's not, when you have to worry about struggling in a battle, and this is part of what DS9 did. I like DS9 a lot, but it's in some ways the weakest of all the original Star Trek series, because it focused too much on war, on conflict, whereas all the other shows were about avoiding those things. I don't know. It's really hard to describe. I've had this conversation with a lot of our friends that are more Star Trek fans, less Star Trek fans, all over the board. It's very hard to describe. I'm reminded of, I can't remember the name of the case. There's this famous Supreme Court case about, forgive the term, pornography. And the judge in it said, you can't describe it exactly, but you know it when you see it. And that's kind of what Star Trek is. You can't exactly describe it perfectly, but you know what Star Trek is when you see it.
You've got to evolve that theme. They should have devolved that thing. And that's something that Enterprise did very well. The layout of the ship, the layout of the cockpit. It was beautiful, It felt like a smaller, scrunched-in metal. You're in a submarine.
The uniforms, everything about it felt like this is what happens to the International Space Station.
Plus the Navy.
With all this extra technology added on.
Yeah.
Like, it felt really tied and realistic. Which was great, but then they did nothing with the story. So it might be unfair to judge it right now on a trailer. We don't know exactly what they're going to do with the stories. It might end up being some really great hard sci-fi. Who knows? But just going by that trailer, ugh.
I'll do this. I will give them a guaranteed extra point on any school rating I give them if they never go back in time to 2000s era America.
No, you gotta have time travel. You gotta have time travel with Star Trek. Every series did time travel.
That I have hated every episode that they do that in. And I thought Voyager, at least they're on the other side of the galaxy.
The finale was time travel.
Well, I mean, Star Trek Next Generation was time travel, but that was done so well. That was like good. That was scholarly when it comes to time travel and alternate realities. But then they have one where three people land back in the 1990s, and there's Sarah Silverman hanging out, who becomes their buddy. It was absolutely terrible.
Oh yeah, I remember
that
episode. One now? Yeah. Voyager wasn't very good, but I would still rather watch that episode of Voyager than that new trailer for Star Trek Discovery again. Plus, the other thing is you have to pay for their subscription service just to watch it. Which, hey, CBS, nobody's going to pay for your stuff. Like, put it on Netflix. If you want people to watch it, put it on Netflix. Yeah. You're dumb. You're not starting your own thing. Nobody's going to buy it.
It's not working.
It's so dumb.
Here's the thing about CBS. They have some of the best drama shows on, and they have some good comedies.
Yeah.
But it's a network for old folks and people who are not going to pay for their subscription. I used to. Oh, and by the way, Bradford, while you're trying to be funny and cute and immature, a true nerd knows that there are no Klingons living on Uranus, so your nerd card has been revoked, sir. You can come see me after class to get it back.
Yeah.
If you're going to make a joke, it better make sense when you're talking about Star Trek, Star Wars.
We're offended.
I'm offended. Not because it's an immature joke. I'm always,
I'm offended
farts are
if
funny.
You make fun of Star Trek. Star Trek serious business?
Star Trek serious business, man. I'm going to slam things down. But not hard because the phone's already broken.
I shook the table and it goes... It'll probably show up on the audio of the podcast. I don't know if it'll show up for the viewers. Anyway,
this is a point in the podcast where it would go boom, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum.
We've got a couple of those points, I think. But yeah, we'll move on for the news. I tell you what, before we do though, just another quick mention as you're watching with us tonight. Leave us questions. At the end of the episode, we want to do questions for the audience. Give us some topics you'd like us to discuss fairly quickly. We're not going to be able to spend a ton of time on it. But quick questions that you want to know, our opinions on some stuff. Keep it clean and try and keep it within our wheelhouse if you can. Again, favorite flavor of ice cream is a wonderful question for other times, but right now not. And we're going to pick our favorite questions at the end of the episode and answer them. And if we pick your question, you might win something special. So.
Yeah.
Anyway. What would you like to talk about next?
Boom, ba-dum, boom, boom, boom.
Transition music.
Sci-fi shows.
Excuse me. Anyway, yeah, let's talk more. We've talked a little bit about it already, but let's talk more about sci-fi shows.
Okay.
Limited to TV?
Yeah. We were talking before about our favorite sci-fi series just a little bit because Star Trek is so near and dear to our hearts, and
I think I know which is your favorite.
I don't know. It depends. Here's the thing. So Star Trek Next Generation, I think, was a clinic. Had some stinkers in there. Some huge stinkers.
First season.
The first
and most
two seasons. Once they figured out to tell good character stories, like the Data episodes were always good. Sure. The Worf episodes got really good. Like, I couldn't care less about Klingon society until it was just about Worf and what he was going through.
Michael Okuda cared a lot about it, so he was the one.
Yeah, he was him.
And did a bunch of stuff in it. But anyway.
I got into it after a while, and I understood it, and I would watch it every night. It came on like 10 o'clock on Fox after the news went off the air. I'm not supposed to be watching TV, but turn the volume down, turn the lights out.
You didn't tape it?
Just laid there.
Set up your
I didn't have a VCR in my room at the time. No, I wasn't that cool.
Either. Use the one in the living room.
But what would you consider... Today, this is Retro Month for the FoundryCast. Right. Retro is a big term. It's kind of a fashionable term right now.
Yeah, wide net.
Wide net. What is retro when it comes to sci-fi? How long would something have to have been off the air for it to be retro?
You know what would
you say Dollhouse is retro? It still feels kind of new, but it's been off the air for 5-7 years.
For me, it comes down to feel, and this goes back to what we were just talking about. To me, there is a palpable change in the feel of sci-fi and superhero film. Then they tie together, in some ways, around the mid 2000s, and you saw tendrils of this a little bit from shows like, I don't know, Alias, which not really sci-fi, but where I don't know exactly, maybe, well, I won't speculate as to the societal pressures that caused this change.
Sure.
But producers started thinking that they needed to make things grow up, be more serious, deal with more serious issues, become more gritty, become more realistic.
Well, and then string the storyline together.
And also,
it wasn't purely
the
episodic.
advent of arcs. Yeah, I think the I'm just thinking about like the transition to the 2000s. We had DS9, which it kind of starts fitting into this. You know, it started to develop long arcs and it started to get more realistic and gritty, but it was still grounded in crazy sci-fi Star Trek stuff.
Yeah.
Another thing that just probably, it's not a TV show, but The Matrix, especially the first one. Think about that movie. It was realistic and violent. Realistic and violent.
Yeah.
But if you watch it now, you're like, man, this is hokey, this is cheesy, this is goofy. It's not cool. It tried to be cool, but it wasn't. Whereas you look at the new Star Trek Discovery, it's cool, it's gritty. I feel like there's and it was kind of a gradual change, but I would classify anything before that change, so before the mid-2000s roughly, to be retro sci-fi because of the feel of it, the attitude of it, which is we're okay to be a little silly. We're okay to be speculative and cheesy and hokey. Okay.
Because I think of pulp. I think of...
Pulp, very pulpy. Which pulpy, you can't do pulpy anymore because it's not cool. You can't be campy anymore because that's not cool.
If you do, you have to go ahead and say, this is a comic book movie.
Yeah, if you do, you have to be Guardians of the Galaxy and go the whole time, which I love Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's very like on the nose, like, hey, we're being retro. Whereas... Oh, so it's wonderful, but you have to market it very well. I don't know. What do you think? I've been talking a lot. I'm sorry.
No, this is tough.
I'm ranting tonight.
No, and those are good points because and I always talk about invisible barriers. It's the kind of thing that you can't necessarily, once you see it, you know it.
Yeah.
But there becomes this gradation where you can argue about it. So you could say Deep Space Nine. Okay, but is Voyager. Go back to season 1 of Voyager, and that feels like a much older show. Right. You go to the final season, it seems like something that might have been on air just a couple years ago.
I think there was a smooth transition from end of DS9 and end of Voyager into Enterprise. I would say Enterprise is not retro because of it falls into this modern feel.
Of course.
More. But I think that was a transition period, yeah.
And if we're talking directly about sci-fi television shows, not movies, not books, not magazines, I don't know. I've got a couple of them because some of them you don't think of necessarily as sci-fi, but they are. Like Knight Rider.
Sure. Yeah.
Knight Rider
was a sci-fi action. Yeah.
You know, technology. That car was still one of the most beautiful creations. If I could own a series of cool vintage cars, I would own a DeLorean and I would own a Kit.
Sure.
And those are my cars right there.
Yeah.
So that one holds pretty strong with me because the lead actor, his character's name is Michael Knight. I mean, come on. You got a strong, badass name. His hair was feathered and beautiful.
Jean jackets galore. There's a certain amount of absurdity, I think, that you get with... That was, Knight Rider was played straight up, but it was absurd. Mm-hmm. It was a talking car. That's ridiculous, but they played it straight up. So yeah, I think that's part of that retro feel is, you play something, there's no wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I would give some honorable mentions to Sliders. I still consider that to be kind of... I mean, you're getting into the 2000s at this point, I believe. Yeah.
It was right around the transition, right at the end of the run. Well, we can find out. But yeah.
Sliders, because it told a very unique story that no other show would do or could do.
Yeah.
And that is, every episode is a completely different universe. So they had to dress sets and then write scripts based on the sets they know they could have. So, we know we can get this old Western town for the last week of July.
We got a Western episode, yeah.
Western episode, let's make it work.
Yeah.
And so I like how they had to work around those.
You know what? That's actually a really good point. There's almost... That's part of what makes, I think, sci-fi good sci-fi is that you do it on the cheap. When you have unlimited funds, you get lens flare laser battles in space like in the new Star Treks, and that's not fun. When you have to do it cheap, you have a guy in a rubber suit talking about humanity versus alien humanity, and you have to you have to think more cerebrally when you have no budget. So.
And that's part of my favorite one. If you're watching us right now, again, go ahead and leave comments if you have any questions, because we are going to be picking at least one prize for the best question that we get of the night. But we'd like to hear what your favorite sci-fi television series is. So please throw that down in the comments below. What do you think my favorite sci-fi series is?
I am going to say your favorite sci-fi series...
You didn't read the card.
No, I promise I didn't. I'm not a cheater. I was initially... It jumped in my head to say Red Dwarf. But I don't think it's Red Dwarf.
It is.
Oh, well, there you go. I was going to say...
It is.
I was going to say Farscape.
Farscape? That one I wouldn't consider retro.
Okay.
I would consider that to have been so new.
It started to get kind of...
Yeah, that one went... And then the movie came out a little bit after that.
But Red Dwarf?
That is my... Red Dwarf is the epitome of what you said. It's got the combination of camp. It's got the combination of willing to do radical sci-fi themes. Mm-hmm. Almost every episode is about DNA morphing or going through a white hole instead of a black hole.
Yeah.
What would happen if you went to another side of the universe, beyond our universe where everything is happening but in reverse? But to them, it's happening straight forward. Everything you're doing is in reverse. Everything they're doing is reverse compared to you.
I'm trying to remember. I was watching an episode just the other day. Well, a couple weeks ago.
It's called Backwards.
There was an episode where they were like going near the speed of light, and so everything was happening at different times. So
is it Future Echoes?
Yeah, I think so. The actors would walk in and he would start talking, and the other guy was saying completely different lines that made no sense. But then it made sense 5 minutes later in the show when he was answering. Yeah, it was really cool.
What?
So that kind of stuff, like, oh, that's hilarious. That's great. You wouldn't see that on.
It would be a hard thing to do and Star Trek tries to do it. And so instead of it being a full scene where it's played for comedy, but it still makes sense on the sci-fi side, the person would just see a digital effect of a person walking by, and then it fades away. Right. And then they go, these are echoes of the future that we're seeing.
That's also true. There's Red Dwarf has that level of comedy where they can get away with more stuff because it's funny.
Yeah.
So you can push boundaries, and things don't have to make as much sense if it's justifying it.
If you're asking me what my favorite sci-fi of all time would be, it would be Farscape. I adore Farscape.
What's your favorite retro? Is Red
Dwarf? Definitely Red Dwarf.
I'd have to say, I feel bad saying it only because I want to pick something more interesting, but it's got to be Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's, like you said earlier, it's a masterclass. It is seasons 3 through the end of the series. Yeah. Yesterday's Enterprise, all the stuff with the Borg, All Good Things, the final 2-parter. It just...
Did you watch that live like I did? Did you watch the special that came on right before?
Yeah, where they
Yeah, because it was Commander Riker.
It was a sad day.
But it was good.
Bittersweet.
It was done well.
But then it ran in syndication till forever, so it was fine. We got to watch it forever.
Yeah.
But, I'd probably say that. I wanted to say, like, I really loved Babylon 5 when it was running.
That's a top runner
that
for
was
me,
another
too.
really nice... I mean, it had some action and stuff, but it had some really nice cerebral
It
sci-fi.
was sort of in the genre of saga and space opera.
Yeah, it was really the first show to do an arc.
But the whole show is one storyline that makes sense.
Yeah.
Things might happen that you think, oh, come on. Give it 4 and 5 episodes.
It's all set up.
Everything was set up for something else, and it makes perfect sense.
It was good. It was hard sci-fi in a good way. It was realistic sci-fi. It was what happens 200 years in the future to us now. It's not Star Trek where it's like, this is who we can be. Babylon 5 is, this is who we are dealing with what we find in the universe. So that was good. I liked it a lot. But yeah, I'm still going to have to say Next Gen. I want to give a shout out to the original series too. But there's a lot of stinkers.
Yes, so bad. Shout out to Miss Gilly who commented, favorite sci-fi retro show, Jetsons. That's fantastic.
That's a nice one. You can't get better retro comedy than that. No, yeah, the Jetsons. All of the tech that I want in my life now is from the Jetsons, not from anything else. I want the pill that you eat and you're full.
Yeah, you're full.
I want a robot maid. I want to put my dog out the window on a treadmill and I can just do other stuff. So it's great.
But the thing is, we're in a world where those things are kind of true.
They're coming true.
We've got these superfoods. We've got Roomba that vacuums.
We have the ones that do the windows now.
Mm-hmm. And we even have people who will just like teach their dogs to walk on a
sure
treadmill.
There's an app for me to get a dog walker.
It's got to be. And it's like watching Back to the Future 2 and how much of that technology we've done or are doing better.
Yeah, this is funny to look at that. The technology in that specific example is how our stuff is way better than their stuff.
They're doing their teleconferencing on the TV. It's like, that's nice. I can do it on my phone. Right,
I can do it I have a device
can walk around with it
that does everything. So.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So I think that we still have great sci-fi shows coming and still great ones to watch. Some of the animated series, like Rick and Morty, are doing amazing stuff for science fiction.
I just watched the new season premiere. I haven't seen the rest of the new series, but I saw the season premiere, and it's like they're jumping through dimensions, and he's like replacing other versions of himself, and it's just like you couldn't do this if it wasn't sci-fi. It's so weird But yeah,
that's a show I need to get in more.
The other thing too, I saw a thing that reminded me of it. That show, and I haven't heard more about it since we talked about it. The show with I guess it is Is it Will Smith on Netflix where he's a cop where there's cops?
We talked about that with
I love it.
The previous episode, or were we just talking to Jason about it?
No, I think we mentioned in a previous episode in the news or something. Great idea, sure. Let's do a cop drama, but in a fantasy setting.
Yeah, because it's all like orcs and elves.
Yeah, it's great. That's awesome. Love it. Let's do more of that. Do more of that and less of the J.J. Abrams Trek retreads. We don't need more lens flares and giant ships, bro. Come on.
Yeah, I respect J.J. Abrams a lot.
Sure.
But he's starting to become kind of synonymous in the back of my head, fear-wise, with Michael Bay. So as soon as I hear J.J. Abrams, I think a little bit over the top, a little bit more about pizzazz than substance. And I know that's not fair to JJ, but
he's like deep fried cheese bites. They're delicious, but they're not high cuisine.
Yeah, they'll make you fat. JJ Abrams, on the whole, will make you fat. Well, let's take a short recess.
Yeah, we're going to take a short break. We will be back with you guys in just a minute. We're going to refill our
3 minutes or less.
Beverages.
Don't go away. Leave some comments or questions for us while we're gone, and we'll get back to them in just a couple seconds.
Let me change our...
Right,
exclamation point.
Yeah, after these messages.
Yeah, we'll be right back in here in just a moment. Stay tuned, and we're going to talk about lots more. Whoa, we're back.
We're back, guys.
Okay, sorry. We did that already. Excuse me. Welcome back. Sorry, we were gone an extra minute or two because I got like a hunk of Snickers or something in my throat, and I was like coughing like bad. So
it's just like any other bar. There was a long line for the restroom.
Sure.
I had to wait on everybody.
It was in this mysterious blobby place where...
We're at nightclub.
yeah.
I do apologize. I brought over a delicious Tennessee whiskey cake by Jack Daniels. Chocolate cake infused with whiskey. And I thought that'd be a nice little treat to help keep us going because it's got sugar, it's got cocoa, so cacao.
Sure. Caffeine.
And booze. But we were talking a little bit about retro stuff overall.
Let's jump into our next topic this evening.
Mm-hmm.
It is still May, which we determined is Retro Gaming Month. Well,
yes.
Retro Month as a whole, but we've been doing a lot of retro video games and stuff. So I wanted to pose a couple questions to you that we could kind of riff on this evening.
Please.
And you know what? I'll pose these questions to any of our viewers as well. If you want to respond as we go, feel free. And again, keep shooting those questions our direction too. We'd really like some questions that we can answer at the end of the episode. But anyway, going back to retro gaming. So, sort of the same direction, but two slightly different questions.
Yes.
Let's talk about retro game consoles. And you know, in the last segment, we were talking about what you define as retro in terms of sci-fi stuff. For video games, let's say anything like PS2 or older, you know, like anything early 2000s or older, we'll call retro. If you want to do something newer than that, that's fine. But my question is, what is your absolute favorite console, retro gaming console of anything out there? It can be anything. What is your what's your favorite?
I'd like you to go first on this one because I'm kind of torn. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if maybe you would influence me to agree or further disagree. But it's something that I've thought a lot about because we grew up at a time when the video game market recovered. Yeah. There was a huge loss, an oversaturation in the United States. Yes. There was an oversaturation of garbage video game systems where people were reproducing, and it was the same thing with different weird controllers. And so faith had gone out of the market, and it wasn't something that was very approachable for moms and dads. They basically were looking at these computer-type devices, but they don't know what they did. So it wasn't until about 1983 was when it crashed.
83 was a crash.
85 to 87.
Recovery from that was 86, 87 as the NES was introduced. I believe NES came 86, fall of 86 in the US?
Something like that, yeah.
I'll look that up really quick, but I'm pretty sure that's the case.
So that's part of what I think sort of, it does set a divide.
There
are retro game consoles of the fall, and then the retro game consoles of the recovery, and then I think we're still keeping somewhat of a, not an invisible line at the year 2000, but it's somewhere roughly around that time, I think, is where we kind of say, now you're getting into more modern gaming. Maybe mid-2000s at the latest.
October 85, actually.
85,
for
yep.
NES. So here's something interesting as I'm looking it up. We just said the video game market in the U.S. crashed in 83.
Yeah.
The NES was released in Japan in July of 83. So, this is something also in the UK and Europe. The retro gaming market didn't crash either. But that was because they were oriented in a different direction. And this is the direction I'm going to go in. I'm going to cheat a little bit when I write about my favorite console. So let me say this. There's a few options. I grew up and cut my teeth on the Atari 2600. It has a very near and dear place in my heart. I actually probably have the largest collection of games for that console over any other that I own.
Hunks of plastic, that's for
I
sure.
love the Atari a lot. Mm-hmm. It's not my favorite, though. Same thing about the Master System, Sega Master System, love it to death, grew up playing it, but not my favorite. My favorite video gaming platform would be IBM PC. The PC.
I feel like it's cheating,
when
but
I look back at, because I was thinking about this topic, I was like, do I go NES? I didn't own an NES, but it's still great. What do I go with? When I look back at my gaming childhood, from the mid to late 80s through the mid to late 90s, 80% of my gaming happened on a PC. And PC was, this is why I say the European market didn't crash. The European market was very focused on home computers, not PC, because PC wasn't necessarily a thing at that time. But the Spectrum, the Commodore, some other ones like that, their market didn't crash because they were focused on that. Our market wasn't there yet. The Japanese market had home computers and the NES, the Famicom. But by the late 80s, IBM PC was the standard, and some of the greatest games of the late 80s, early 90s, the LucasArts adventure games, Day of the Tentacle, Monkey Island, Loom, my favorite. Play Loom. Go play Loom. It's amazing. Go play Loom. Doom 2, all the Doom clones that spawned. There were so many great games. Myst was a huge series when I was growing up, like an adventure puzzle game. So many games, so many genres on the PC that are near and dear to my heart that I still go back and play every day. The PC was king for me. I still remember fondly getting my first CD-ROM drive installed in my PC and being able to play the X-Wing games for the first time with full sound and music, and it was amazing. So, I want to say, the NES, because why wouldn't you say the NES? But I never owned one as a kid. I only just bought one. It's not my favorite, personally. The Genesis, I've loved to death, played it a ton, but not my favorite. It's got to be PC. There's just too many options that I love from my childhood.
I didn't come from a household that had a good computer. We ended up having something that would do some word processing. Like, the only games I really ever played on a desktop computer were things like Wolfenstein 3D, Commander Keen, Red Agent, and Where in Space is Carmen Sandiego.
Good learning games on the PC.
Great, but they came on the hard floppy disks.
3.5 inch.
3.5 inch. And I remember this was getting into high school about that time, where I had these disks and I would write and save them into some predecessor to Word. I don't remember what it was. And I enjoyed it. And I remember wanting to play more games. Battle Chess, still awesome.
Star Wars Battle Chess.
This is just regular.
A game I always wanted to own, but I never owned.
Regular Battle Chess. I don't know. And if you're watching this and you're listening, if you have any comments what your favorite retro system is, we'd love to see that in the comments. And Chris, you've got a great question. I want to answer that a little bit later on, since it's something different than we're talking about now. But that's a really interesting question, Chris. What do you think you guys think about retro consoles, whether it be PC or whether it be an actual gaming console?
I should say retro gaming system.
Gaming system.
Any retro gaming system. What's your favorite?
Yeah, that's a fair answer, and I could see. But no, I never had the greatest computers.
I will say, I was lucky. I grew up in a household where it was strongly encouraged to be very tech focused. My father was, in his career, was really tech focused, and he understood from a young age himself, before I was born, that was the wave of the future, that was really important. So I grew up with computers in my home, being very, very computer literate. I was programming basic stuff when I was like 7 years old.
All right, you're a nerd.
So I'm just saying, I was lucky to have that opportunity, and a lot of people weren't. So I can see that. But for me, I'm just looking at a personal experience. I can't top.
I wish I had a good answer like that. But I feel like I'm copping out by saying Nintendo Entertainment System.
That's fine.
Here's the reason for that.
That's the Rolls Royce answer. I mean,
my neighbor up the street had an Atari. Loved playing on that, but they had 2600. But we were playing Combat, and we were playing Pitfall. Combat's fun, but
it's old after a while.
It does. 20 minutes and you're just done forever. The basketball game, I think it was just called Basketball.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Great naming there on the side of Atari.
I love tennis. Tennis is a great game. It's about tennis.
I didn't like tennis. But any of those combat kind of games, I like those, where you were tanks or vehicles. My stepmother's side of the family, they all had an Atari, but they had a couple different games. One where you're a farmer and you're shooting pesticide and all these different kind of bugs coming across your farm.
I want to say that the game is called Zoot.
It's something like that.
Or something like that, but yeah.
Yeah, that one was a
lot
of fun.
Classic arcade game.
But it was beautiful because all the bugs were different colors and they moved differently. And you could tell that's a worm, that's a moth, that's a spider. Those were great. But
you use your imagination sometimes.
Kind of, but it's like that's an inchworm.
Sure,
and
a
caterpillar.
Yeah.
I mean,
we don't need 4K to know it's an inchworm.
But my dad, he got a Sega Master System, not for his wife and kids. It was at his house
for him to play.
I guess so.
Good for him.
And he taught me how to play Safari Hunt and Hang On, and that was cool. But we had a very limited selection of games. And here's my answer: the original Metroid. Yeah, good answer, Chris.
Great game.
Here's part of that. You're saying Legend of Zelda. That's one of those games I got really early on. But my cousin had it first, and I got to play it over at their house, and I wanted to steal it from them. They wouldn't let me have it, and I begged and begged and begged and begged. Finally got my own copy and wore it out. But here's my point. You know that the Tetris pieces? You know how there's one block, and one on each side, that kind of little T thing?
Yep.
That was my neighborhood of Nintendos. I had a Nintendo, they had a Nintendo, they had a Nintendo, those folks had a Nintendo. So out of all the four of our houses, we had a library of games.
You had everything.
Oh, he already has Metroid. We're not going to get that. We're going to get the new Simpsons game.
Yeah.
And they're going to get Kid Icarus.
Yeah,
and so we would share them, or at least we'd go to someone else's house and play a little bit. So I had so much more experience on the NES, although I loved Sega Master System. I loved playing Atari, but just hands-on, knuckling down. I got Nintendo Power, for goodness sake, and I'm just, what's the code?
Yeah,
there's no code. How do I cheat?
It was
There's
tough
no
for
cheat.
me. Growing up, everyone I knew had an NES.
Yeah.
And so when I would visit other people, I'd play them, but I didn't, and my closest neighbors didn't. So it was like a once-a-month thing. Maybe, if I was lucky, I'd get a chance to sit down and play Excite Bike for 5 minutes. I played Legend of Zelda some when I was a kid, but I never even came close to beating it because I never had more than 30 minutes to sit and play it. So
yeah, as a kid, I only got to Dungeon 8.
I didn't beat Legend of Zelda until I was 22 in college.
If you were about to say just now that you had never beat it, we were going to shut this down.
I beat it once. But it wasn't on the NES. It was on my PC. It was on an emulator. So I need to at some point. And hey, I know a person who's doing a series about beating games. Maybe one day that'll be on said series by said person. I wonder who that could be. Anyway, I can totally agree. I mean, it's hard to beat that library and that it is a classic for a reason. But I don't know. There's other good choices out there, and I think it's interesting to ask this question of other people. I'd love to hear from some of our other listeners and viewers, pardon me, who are watching tonight, especially the younger ones. Yeah. Because you and I are mostly the same age, and we're older. Like you said, we kind of grew up right. I was born in '83, so I was born the year the market crashed, and so as I grew up, the market recovered, and we got all this great stuff, but it's funny to go on YouTube or something and watch YouTube personalities talking about, today I'm playing some retro games. I'm going to be playing stuff on the N64. It's like, dude, I was playing N64 in high school. What you talking about? That ain't retro. I was
playing the N64 in the Marine Corps, for God's sake.
Yeah, you had it on a boat.
I'm on the aircraft carrier trying to convince these other Marines and Navy cats to play freaking Donkey Kong 64. Come on. And they're like,
that ain't retro.
Screw you.
Retro is bips and boops going, well, that's an inchworm.
Yeah,
that's retro.
I know that's a caterpillar inchworm, and that's why I never really liked Genesis games, and I never liked Super Nintendo games as much because I never had one of those. Yeah. I rarely would get to play it, and when I did, it'd be like, "Okay, here's your turn." Burp, 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 burp. I just died. Right. Give me the controller back.
Yeah,
what? Can I not borrow this? I did get to borrow Super Nintendo. My mom and stepdad were going on a cruise or going to Las Vegas or something awesome.
Yeah.
So my sister and I were staying at my grandmother's for a whole weekend, Friday afternoon to Sunday night.
Right.
My grandmother's awesome, lives up in the woods, but I was gonna get bored.
Sure.
So we got our name on a list, and I was able to rent a Super Nintendo the whole weekend and played Street Fighter 2 on her black and white television in the basement, and I loved it. It was in color in my brain.
Yeah, sure.
And I was learning.
I grew up playing. I didn't know that the Atari 2600 put out color until like 10 years ago. I grew up playing it on a black and white TV. I know that struggle. So,
click, 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 click. Oh, it's on UHF.
And those little forks that you had to screw into the back.
Oh yeah. That's how I had to hook it up to her TV. I was like, I need a screwdriver, and I just like take a penny and just jam it in. Yeah.
Anyway, so actually, to the end of talking about some other viewers that might be younger, might not know, or especially folks that aren't necessarily big gamers, especially big retro vintage gamers. This is my other question: so we just talked about your favorite gaming platform.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which gaming platform would you recommend to somebody who didn't play retro games, who maybe they did but not very much? They want to get into that hobby. They want to play old stuff, but they don't know where to start. They don't know what to play. Maybe they like video games in general, newer stuff, or maybe they just like Candy Crush. What would you recommend? What system? What do you say? Go buy this and get some games for it.
I have an interesting answer here.
Okay.
It's not what you're expecting. And it's still borderlines.
If it's a PC again, I'm gonna
PC.
flip the table.
Get a PC. No, it borderlines retro.
Okay.
I think this still counts.
All right.
I looked at library. I looked at cost, because you're saying just getting into it, right?
Yeah.
The first time, because if you look hard enough, you'll find an NES dirt cheap.
You will,
and
yeah.
You can take it apart, put it back together. You can clean some of the interior. You can replace some parts of the interior. And so that's a good one to work on if you're building a library. However, there's a cost issue with Nintendo, primarily in the games. You can find some of the worst titles for rather cheap, but to get semi-decent games, you're paying a higher premium.
Yeah.
So I did a breakdown. I did an eBay search, and I looked at the pricing.
Some research.
Nintendo Entertainment System, working condition, looks good. You're going to be paying anywhere from $75 to about $200. If you can find one cheaper, probably like a yard sale or a flea market.
Might get lucky, yeah.
But if
flea market anymore, probably not, because there's too many people that know, but yard sales.
Well, there are some flea markets that have their own little shop in there, like a little video game shop.
Yeah, you're paying out the wazoo.
You're still paying $75, but upwards of $200 for one that is clean.
Don't pay $200
good
for a brand new
condition.
NES,
all the parts have been replaced.
Yeah. You shouldn't be paying more than $80 or $90.
No generations, use super high quality visuals. Yeah,
That's
think so.
Very true.
But how much time did our friend Heather spend out of her whole life, all her beautiful youth gone, playing Candy Crush?
True.
There's no glossy. Yeah, it has higher def. It's not the graphics of Candy Crush that make it so addictive. So you can say that newer games have a higher polish, and that's true. But still, people are getting into retro games. They're getting into games that have that 8-bit look. Look at Minecraft. It has a retro look on purpose.
That's what I was saying about, like, you look at YouTube personalities. It's really interesting to see the guys coming up on YouTube that are 20, 21 years old, and they're rediscovering NES stuff. It's really fun to watch. Like, they're like, wow, this is really good.
This is really good.
It's really good.
Go and play games like Shinobi, Contra, Mario 3 that have some of the best...
it feels right.
Responsiveness to your controls. Yeah. Then you go and play some of these newer games.
You don't get that in a new game with 4K graphics where you hit the stick and then your guy's like, and he turns. I mean, you reach levels of... Anyway, that's a whole different discussion. I won't go down that road.
If you're looking for an NES game, decent titles are going to run you between $20 and $50.
Right. Yeah.
So then I looked at Sega Master System. Not the Genesis, the Master System.
Which, for those of you not in the know, that was the 8-bit equivalent of the NES by Sega. It was released in North America, did very poorly here, it did really well in Europe and South America, where it was produced brand new up until just a couple years ago in Brazil. So
yeah, it's one of the longest running, if not the longest running console production.
It's awesome. Look it up if you haven't. It's great. But anyway, How much for a Master System?
Between $100 and $150.
Ooh, because they're collector's items.
They're collector's items.
Sell enough
because there's a scarcity issue there.
Where NES, there is no scarcity with NES.
That's true.
And there shouldn't be with the games, but there is.
The games for Sega... Now, I like this one better. While it's still a higher starting price point, the high end is going to be about $150, whereas some Nintendos are going to run closer to $200.
Well,
but that might be
some of them are
with the zapper.
Dollars,
well, of course, but with the zapper, with 2 controllers, with everything, and maybe one game. That's plug it and play, and you have something to do.
You're able to have some fun.
The games are about $10 to $40 because they're not necessarily super exclusive titles. There's only about 3 or 4 titles that are really collector's items, and they tend to be some of the first RPGs of all time, like Phantasy Star.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Here would be my choice.
Okay, lay it on us.
Game Boy Advance SP.
Good choice.
Game Boy Advance SP. I own
That's
4
really
of them.
Good choice.
4 of them, and they all are in working condition. They all work great. We're not talking the best graphics. You can upgrade to. What's the Game Boy on now?
The DS, the new DS
L and the DS Lite and the DS,
the 2DS and the
3DS. So the 3DS is the kind of the newest. Well, I'm sorry, the Switch.
Well,
it's the Switch.
Yeah. Yes.
The new Nintendo Portable is the Switch. Game Boy Advance SP plays games of Super Nintendo quality.
Sure. Yeah, there's been a bunch of Super Nintendo games re-released on them.
You can get every Mario game, including Super Mario Brothers. You can play that on there.
You can play World and the Yoshi's Island games.
Yoshi's Island.
I believe got re-released. I know World did.
It has a fairly large series of games.
Really?
It has there are even a couple companies that sell carts that have 15-minute episodes of cartoons.
Yeah, flash carts and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I have one that's from Cartoon Network, so it has like a Courage the Cowardly Dog and Codename Kids Next Door.
Back before tablets
Dexter.
Sort of thing. Yeah.
It's still cool.
Early 2000s.
I will not get rid of this. There's no reason to. Game Boy Advance SP is going to run you between $30 and maybe $100.
I'm shocked that it's
brand
that
new.
much. I'm shocked $30.
You could get it cheaper, but I'm talking in good condition, mid quality, maybe a game thrown in with the power cord. Yeah. I got 2 of mine online for about $10 or $12 a piece, but no cord because I had plenty.
Game Boy Advances you can find at Goodwill for pennies.
And the games are between $5 and $20.
Yeah.
You can get a bunch of. You can get some bundles. Oh! Let me find it. Let me see if eBay didn't get rid of it because I had.
Well, while you look, I'll start giving my thoughts kind of on this same direction, or you can find it right away. You might find it right away.
Yeah, I had it up. It disappeared. Give me one more second. Because I found one in a lot with all these great games. Okay, so it's one of the silver with Pokemon Fire Red, Pokemon Pinball, and a game called Dungeon for $11.50. You have 2 Pokemon games already added to it.
Pokemon Red and a way to play it for $11 that's a heck of a deal just by itself. That's hours and hours and hours of gameplay.
Yeah.
I think it's that's a good choice.
Here's one. I've got another one.
Okay.
It's a red one, and it's bundled with
bunch of games.
Rayman, Raving Rabbids, Spyro Orange, Chicken Little, Beach Bandits, Lord of the Rings 2 Towers, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, re-release there.
Something I Can't Read, and Totally Spies 2.
Totally Spies 2?
$10.50. Sure. Okay. So I was thinking for value, and if I was to give a runner-up, PlayStation 2 Slim.
Yeah.
You have a DVD player.
That's
one of the best regular DVD players you can find. And you can update it. You can go online and update it if it's playing newer DVDs. They're going to run you between $40 and $100. Games are anywhere between $5 and $50. So it's not quite as good a value as the Game
I believe the
Boy.
Slim still had backwards compatibility.
It does have backwards compatibility.
So you've got not only the entire PS2 category, the entire PS2 catalog, that's the word, but also the PS1 catalog too, which is So that's a good choice. Excuse me. Yeah, when I thought about some options along this way, I thought about that. I thought about even the new 3DS. Because there's backwards compatibility. Well, my DS at least. I honestly don't know if the new ones do it, but my DS can play DS, Advanced, Original. Like, you can play a huge category across Game Boy models with some of the DS.
But they won't play Game Boy Color.
Mine does.
Your Game Boy...
my DS plays Game Boy Color games, too.
Yeah. Sure?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the 3DS.
Yeah,
the 3DS.
The 3DS, I think they dropped that compatibility.
It did.
The 2DS, the original DS did.
You're right.
But the new 3DS also has like a virtual console where you can play a bunch of stuff on there too. I'm going to discount all that stuff though, because I'm going to say, let's talk about playing, because at this point you can get all kind. We can get stuff on our PC, but I want to talk about playing them in their original form. I'm saying if you're going to play an NES game, play it on the NES. Play it with the original controllers, the original box. So to that end, I'm going to say Super Nintendo. If you want to get into retro gaming, if you're a modern gamer, you like video games a little bit or a lot,
right,
and you want to get into retro stuff, Super NES. Now the prices are up there.
They're a bit higher.
NES is still, I think, the most expensive, but Super NES is getting really expensive. But it's not going to break your bank. It's probably $100 or less for a console, all the equipment, a couple of controllers. I'll tell you what. While I'm sitting here talking, I'll pop on eBay and look it up. But
I'll look it up for you.
Sure, thank you. Just the NES lot or something. The thing about the SNES is it scratches that itch of retro gaming. It's old stuff. It's pixel art stuff. The controllers are great. It's a comfortable console to play. The library is phenomenal. Some of the greatest retro games ever made are on that console. Super Mario World, which I think is the best Mario game ever made. Super Metroid, Star Fox. Huge amount of options, lots of different genres. The other thing I'll say about the SNES, compared to... I would never recommend somebody go back and start with the NES unless they knew they were going to like it. Because the NES, though it has a great library, the graphics aren't there. The sound isn't there. Same thing with like an Atari. I would never recommend an Atari because bleeps and bloops. But an SNES, the graphics are nice enough to where a modern gamer could still... Somebody who plays games on their phone, they're going to be absolutely fine with an SNES. The resolution is lower, but like the quality of the graphics is great. It's fine. It's there. It's good enough. Some of the 3D games like Star Fox may look a little wonky, but Super Mario World, if you show that to somebody who's used to Candy Crush, they're going to be right at home with that.
Yeah. And I think I agree. However, when you're talking retro, people are often thinking of about that era, if not before.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the Super Nintendo games are a bit, dare I say, sophisticated. I think of Final Fantasy 3.
Sure.
That is one of the best games of all time, in my opinion.
I wouldn't throw a brand new gamer into it, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't throw a brand new gamer into it.
But I think there's enough games on SNES to where you can start with the easy stuff. There's enough gateway games on there, and then if you like it, you can keep collecting for that same system and get Final Fantasy games. You can get... I'm trying to think of something else complicated, but I can't. There's lots of options. There's sports games on there. There's all kinds of good stuff that you can get a hold of. You can fill out a really nicely wide collection on the SNES.
Yeah, I found a lot of games. I also got some Nintendo games thrown in there as well. You get some really great wrestling games. Some of the best wrestling games were for Super in 64.
Yeah, 64 had the best wrestling collection for sure, yeah.
You're also, with Super Nintendo, going to find more in a box just because it's a little bit newer.
Yeah.
And you're not going to pay quite so much for those in a box, but they're still going to run a pretty hefty price range. So you're looking at, I would say, somewhat comparable to an NES in the pricing. Maybe a skoshi bit cheaper on some of the nicer games, but it's still considered a collector's item. Whereas Sega Master System, while it's more exclusive, the games are a lot cheaper. So it's kind of, you depend on where you want to pay.
Just popping up here, there's a used SNES, $51.
Yeah, so they're running $50
one in the box, complete,
$100.
$109. which a box NES is probably going to be $200 or $300. So
yeah,
just guessing.
Just for the box itself,
Super Famicom, so Japanese import for $50. So I don't think it's going to break the bank. That is one thing I'll say, that if you're looking to get into retro gaming, unless you're collecting for the PlayStation 2 era or newer, you bring your pocketbook, bring your wallet, because probably the cheapest retro stuff to collect for is the really old stuff, like Atari 2600. You can get lots of games for that, for a lot of games, I should say, a good chunk of a group of games on eBay for $30 or $40. And the consoles are not too bad, but NES, SNES, Genesis, Master System, that era, N64 is getting really, really expensive. That section, the early to late 90s, is very pricey. So, yeah, be prepared to spend some money. But do you think it's worth it? Actually, is another quick question. Do you think it's worth to spend $100
or just anything?
Anything. Do you think it's worth to spend $150 to sit down and be able to play NES games on the original format versus $5 to play on your PC or free?
No. Yes, but no. When you have opportunities to buy it, you can sell me this glass and I can drink with it. Great. I'll buy that glass. When you make it really hard for me to buy this glass, I'm going to go buy a damn Solo cup.
Yeah.
And so when this market has been... it's created mostly by sellers, which is okay. So when there's rise and fall in prices, it has to do with us and what we buy and what we sell and what we trade. Mm-hmm. But when the companies don't make the games available any other way, emulation explodes.
Yeah, Nintendo,
and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
When I could go onto my Nintendo Switch, which I don't own, but let's say I did, and I want to play Super Mario 3, and it isn't there because they don't have an online store yet. I have to go back to my Wii U and go into their store and buy the game.
Yeah.
Or I could maybe find it online for free.
Well, you shouldn't do that.
I'm not saying I am. But if I were to...
But some people out there do.
And so... you can go and find some of these games and play them. You can borrow... I think the best thing to do is borrow someone else's system if they have one.
Yeah. Come over and hang out and play it for a little while.
Yeah. If my Nintendo isn't working, can I borrow yours? Sure. Let me borrow it for a month. Give them like a month. Mm-hmm. Don't give them a week. Like a whole month. Give them the games. Write it down so you don't forget your buddy's not stealing your stuff. Mm-hmm. And get into it. If you love it, then save up some money. Build your collection slowly. Find a couple of games you know you want. If you can find them in the box, all the better. I would say be willing to pay double the price for the game if you can find a box. It's worth it. So if you get a Super Mario 3...
If you're a collector. If you care about collecting, yeah.
If you want it to sit on a shelf, you want your friends to come over and see it and go, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
Be willing to pay it. If you can find it, double the price you find it on eBay. I'm not saying you should go pay that money. But if I find Mario 3 for $20... but I can find it for $40 in a box, that's a steal.
Yeah, might as well get the box.
Yeah. You're paying more money, but that's what you're spending your money on your hobby.
Yeah, if you're wanting to do that. I don't know. I could say, there's ways to get introduced into retro gaming that don't cost a lot of money, but I'm kind of assuming that if you're interested in this and you want to get into it, you want the authentic experience. Mm-hmm. I think it's important, from a nostalgia perspective, to sit down and play a game as it was originally intended. You talk about this with film. Nobody bats an eye about you got to see the original widescreen format. You can't watch it in the 4:3 letter. You can't watch that. You got to watch the wide. So
the fan made version of Star Wars Episode 4, where they've gone and taken part of this viewing and then part of this DVD and just pieced it together and tried to recolor it so it looked just like it did when it aired in the theaters. That's the way it was meant to be seen. Yeah. I mean, movies and art, they're meant to continue to grow.
It's a little bit of a different...
Or the artist is never done with their work, they just decide to move on.
They decide to stop working on it, yeah. But,
and the same is kind of true, except for video games. When it's done, it's done.
It's done.
It's out.
So, I think sitting and playing it with the controller in your hand is very different than sitting at your PC, and sometimes it's worth it. But
sitting on your knees Your face up to the screen.
With the blaster against the glass. And you still can't hit that duck.
And that dog laughing at me. I'll get you one day, dog.
All right. Well,
Cyrus.
Cyrus
Is that a legit dude, Chris? And he knew us from Burger King too.
Yep.
Chris, you win the legit award for the night, man. This is the one that I did get from Burger King.
Which one is it?
It's Eowyn.
Okay, I have one of those somewhere, but I genuinely don't know where it is.
Well, I have Eowyn, and I think I have Legolas, and then one of the Hobbits. I had one originally, and then my wife and I went into an antique store in Boone. We decided to spend $5 on each other, and I got her this little metal bell that rings crystal clear. It's beautiful. And she got me one of these glasses, and I since have bought another one. So, and it does light up. I don't know if you can see it on camera.
Yeah, we'd have to draw the lights out to get. Maybe
I thought it would show up a little bit better.
Maybe in a future cast we'll do a dark cast. But
yeah, so I need to get a fourth one for a full set. Yeah, I love when they used to do that. Burger King, McDonald's to a lesser extent, and then we both know about Pizza Hut with the sunglasses. Back to the Future 2.
I've got to find them.
What,
at least I hope I still have them.
Which one was it? Was it the black and pink?
Pink and green.
Pink and green?
I think. I don't know. I have to go look and see. I've got a pair of anyway. I've got a bunch of my McDonald's little goobers too, which are probably worth something to somebody at some point somewhere. But
might be.
I don't know. Collection is a.
Well, it's retro month. Thing. Maybe we need to find them.
I thought. Excuse me. Ooh.
All right.
Sorry. I thought about doing that. Actually, I might still try and do it maybe later this week. A video digging out my old PC games.
I'll find my
3.5 inches.
Oh yeah. So you do that. I'll find my Hypercolor T-shirt.
Oh, I think I threw mine away because it stopped working.
They do that, don't they?
Yeah. Eventually, they wear out somehow. We should when we make our FoundryCast T-shirt. We should make it should be Hypercolor. Why isn't it? Oh, this is brilliant. We
That'd be so weird.
We have to find somebody who does Hypercolor.
People's
T-shirts.
different body shapes making different colors. I don't think they thought that through. I don't remember girls at that time having much of a bust in my age range, so it wasn't an issue. But I think grown women wearing Hypercolor is probably absurd.
Color right there.
Well, no, it's not color right there. It's just there's a distinct lack of color here where the shirt doesn't press against the skin. Sorry, we took it to a weird place.
Yeah, it's fine.
That happens usually towards the end of the podcast.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's move on to table topic for
topics
for the night.
Man,
I'll let you lead this one off because you came up with it. It's a really good one.
I did come up with it, but I'm not the person who just invented this.
No.
Here's what I'd like to talk about a little bit. There has been an explosion, you guys, and feel free to comment with what's going on if you have any questions about this, because celebrities have now begun to embrace role-playing games. Some of them have been doing it behind the scenes in their personal lives this whole time.
Vin
Diesel's been doing it, but nobody knew. And so
we knew, but the general public didn't.
Yeah, the mom and pop, they didn't know. But now he talks about it on a late night show, and all of a sudden, hey, what's this Dungeons and Dragons thing I've heard about? Is that geeky game where you sit in someone's basement and you only eat pizza and drink Mountain Dew?
Yes, it is.
That's actually somewhat true. But no, it's not just that, and here let us show you more. So there's been this proliferation of celebrities getting involved in the culture, getting involved in
we talked earlier in the episode about Geek Poker? Nerd Poker. Nerd Poker is back, and Geek and Sundry is,
Geek and Sundry's Critical Role.
Critical Role is more famous than ever.
And there's a really wonderful video that was produced about Matthew Mercer, who is the game master for that game. He is a voice actor. He's done some live acting, but he's mostly doing anime and video games, and his fiancée, also a voice actress. And then some of their best friends are all voice actors and actors, and they got together before it became a show, just as friends, played Dungeons & Dragons once a week, every couple weeks. Did that for a few years, and then got onto Geek and Sundry, did it live, and it became a phenomenon. And if you haven't watched it before, I suggest you do. And it seems like it's becoming cool. And you think that adding a dialogue about it, putting it out there, that is doing nothing but normalizing it and therefore making it more accessible to everybody to want to try it out. And I believe that, for the most part, that is the case.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on having seen that growth?
We've talked a little bit about this in the past, about is being nerdy cool.
Right.
And I think kind of is, but also I think really at its core isn't still, I've seen, we see celebrities playing D&D, but do we see videos of celebrities painting minis? No.
Making terrain?
Making terrain. Do we see, we see...
Workshopping their character?
We see, Apollo, New Day.
Huh? Austin.
Aries.
Well, his real name is Austin.
Austin. Anyway, he's got a Let's Play channel. He plays games. He has other guys from WWE. They're playing video games. We see them playing video games. Do we see them building their own 480? I can't believe I can't remember that. Anyway, do we see them building their own retro PC so they can go back and play Monkey Island off their 3.5-inch floppies?
Oh, yeah.
No, they don't. There's still a disconnect between... So there's a cool version of nerddom, and I think there's still a very deep level of geekdom that a lot of us fall into. I don't know. You've seen this happen with other hobbies. Like skateboarding is a really good example, where in the 80s and early 90s, skateboarding was an underground hobby that people did. And there's still a lot of people that are like in that raw, we do this, we care about this and we do it for fun. But then it become this cool thing that Bart Simpson's doing in skateboarding, man, and then every kid has a skateboard. None of them use it, but they have one because that's what you do. Right. So, I think it's partly that. It's becoming popular and cool.
Well, and overall, I think that it's the best thing. I think it is. Yeah. There are so many people who need an outlet like that who don't know that it's there, or at least there's a misunderstanding as to what it truly is.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that would benefit from playing D&D that would really love it and really have fun, and they don't know about it. And because they didn't grow up in a position, like I didn't really grow up getting a chance to play D&D. I didn't have anybody that I knew growing up that played. So it only after an adult that I was getting a chance to play. But there's a lot of people out there that would benefit from that, would benefit in knowing what it is.
There was a person in the gaming community, particularly the modeling and the painting and the creating terrain community. He's sort of well known. His name is DM Scotty. I adore the man. He is part of the reason I do what I do. Yep. I would say almost exclusively, but some of the other people who are inspired by him have also helped to inspire me, kind of round out my forefathers. But he is grandpa when it comes to this. And he was very brave, and about a week or two ago made a video about how it's kind of damaging the community a little bit. And he's not saying it's a bad thing. He was just saying that it needs to be discussed and we need to be aware of it. Is that when you have Vin Diesel, when you have Matt Mercer, who, if you didn't know him before, he's awesome. And he's an amazing guy. Like a nice, truly genuine, giving, kind-hearted person. Yeah. But he's also a professional voice actor. Right. And he's been a dungeon master for quite a while.
Yeah, when it comes time to do an NPC voice,
he's got him.
He's ready to go.
Yeah, all he has to... and he can come up with something on the fly. Right. He knows all about dictation. Yeah. He's very well spoken. And so, as a game master, not only does he have good ideas, he knows how to sell it very well. And everybody else on the cast are incredibly talented. When you have the guys with Penny Arcade, those are writers. They're creators. They've been doing that
writer
their whole
and
life.
artist, they worked their way up from the bottom. God bless them. I mean, they were smart and they got into it early and helped create and found an online culture of webcomics and that kind of thing. But they're at the point where, like, one of them, I'm trying to remember which. I don't remember which one was which. one of them had been playing D&D for a long time. The other one had never played and thought it was nerdy.
Right.
And the one introduced the other to it after they'd become successful. And the other guy loved it. But he was at the point now where, hey, all of a sudden they're not rich, but they're well off now because of their success. They've got access to all kinds of people in the industry. So he sort of buys his way in, where all of a sudden it's my first game I'm GMing. I've got this massive terrain set in front of me. I've got a professional D&D GM giving me advice. I've got professional play. Like, you buy your way in. You look at, like, I'm a big auto sports fan, racing fan.
Yeah.
This is really common in motorsport, and amateur motorsport is rich kid buys his way in. I just can go out and just buy a pre-done race card, and I win because my car is so great. And D&D is definitely not a competition. We don't want to make it sound like that. But, it creates this false expectation for a lot of people who then turn around and maybe all of a sudden this guy from Penny Arcade, his first game they're watching him play. Well, it was only the first game. These games they're watching them play are the first games I've seen of D&D. And this is my introduction to D&T, and it's, oh my gosh, they're playing in front of a crowd, and they all have costumes they're wearing, and there's this beautiful terrain. I found a group in my town that is going to play. I'm going to go play with them, and I show up, and it's two guys on a folding table in their basement with some Mountain Dew and some graph paper.
And that's part of what DM Scotty was saying.
Yeah.
There's an expectation that's created that may not be reasonable. It's just like women in magazines who are scantily clad, who are supermodels. They do everything they can to have their bodies be just right, and they're still airbrushed and tweaked and photoshopped.
Yes.
I'm not saying you can't have the best, most amazing, engaging moments.
Right.
But odds are you're not going to have the super glossiest setup. And that's okay. Usually it's playing the game with your friends or with people you haven't met before, and the time you spend with them, it'll evolve into something where you're all so deep into that moment, that no beautiful terrain, no voice actor, none of that can compare. Because it's in your brain, it's going to be so much more.
Right.
We may have a visitor.
He's coming this way. He might
come on
jump
up,
on a chair.
Come on up, buddy. We have a bit of a mascot.
Four-legged visitor. You may have seen him in some of our videos on YouTube, in fact.
Sorry, what was I saying? So it creates an unreasonable expectation, not only of the player getting into it, because now I'm afraid. Well, I don't know if I can do a voice like that. I don't know if I can talk like a broguish orc. Like, oh, there he is.
There he is. Hey, buddy. Hey, Amy.
Amy's gonna just make my chair unbalanced, but that's fine.
He does that.
Hey, buddy. But not all of my elves have the right British accent. Like, you don't have to do any of that. That's fun, and that can add to the enrichment of the game, but it doesn't have to be there. And here is what DM Scotty's main point was. It scares off dungeon masters. There's no way I can run a game like that.
Right.
All I
have
have
idea, but I don't have terrain, so I'm not going to run.
I don't have terrain. I can't do 101 NPC voices. I can't. I mean, look. All I have is this white grid and dry erase markers. But that's what you should do, and I think it messes with the mind of a person, and it's very intimidating for a first timer.
Yeah.
Unless they have the right support group saying, "No, you'd be great. Let's just do it. Let's just go. Come on. We don't need terrain. We don't need all of that."
Yeah, I think that's important. You got to push that perspective of D&D is a social game. You have to have a good group of players, and a good story to be able to start. The terrain is all fun and it's flashy, but it's ancillary. You know, we were talking earlier about Hollywood movies, and you talked about Michael Bay. Like, Michael Bay's movies are bad. They're not bad because they're well produced and have great special effects. That's the only thing going for them. They're bad because the story is bad. So, people need to understand that about something like D&D and tabletop gaming is terrain is wonderful. Minis are wonderful. They can really enhance your gameplay. We talked about that in previous episodes.
Sure.
But they don't make a game great. The story does. A great story and a great group of characters, regardless of how it's told, is great. And that's the thing with film, with a lot of art, is even you look at artists. You can look at an artist's work, even if they use cheap materials.
Right.
They're using chalk on a sidewalk. You can be like, that person is a good artist, just because they don't have Photoshop and a Wacom tablet and all that stuff. Doesn't
Well, here's what might have happened with that artist. They might have had a teacher. They might have gone to a class. They might have been to a lecture that explained a little bit about art and gave them some inspiration. There really isn't a way to learn how to be a dungeon master or a game master, but to do it, to read the book.
And also, if you look at the learning, if you're learning by watching these guys, you're learning that, terrain is an important part of this. Really nice terrain is so important because they all have it. Obviously, it's important. So, I'd like to see more of these guys, more of the professionals, more of the big YouTubers, the big celebrities who do this. I'd like to see them run more games of Werewolf.
Yeah.
Where there's no minis.
Well,
run more games.
That's happening.
Well, that's what I like about, you were talking about the new episode of Geek Poker, or Nerd Poker?
Nerd Poker.
Thank you.
Nerd Poker.
Sorry. Is that it's in his kitchen.
He's just hanging out in his kitchen.
There's cats and animals running through, people running through. That's great, because that makes you tie more into what D&D is really about, and that's a group of people sitting around a table playing games.
And they're also, and this is, again, I'm not knocking on the celebrities and the professional actors and voice actors who do this by any stretch. And to give them even more credit, particularly Matt Mercer and some other people through Geek and Sundry, they are doing videos of like, hey, here's my advice to you. And other game masters and other dungeon masters who are in the community have started doing more tutorials and blogs because it is a community. The best thing about a group of people is to have everybody, all the players, interested in being a dungeon master or game master at least one time. They all want to do it. They all have the fever to try it once. Because typically you only have one person in the group who's willing to run the game. Everybody else wants to play the game. Right.
Nobody wants to do all the work that it takes to be a GM. A lot of people want a GM until they try it and they realize how hard it is.
Well, we got a question from Gilly.
Yeah, Gilly at least asked a really good question, which you want to leave to the end? I think we'll leave it to the end. Make it one of our questions from the audience.
I do. Well, this is perfectly timed because it's what we're talking about right now. How much pre-planning do you guys do as GMs? That's variable. It's very variable. You may think that you're doing a lot of prep work, and then an hour before the game begins, you realize, I don't have the NPC's name or their stats. I don't know the name of the tavern. All you were worried about was the final fight with the bad guy.
Right. I would say that to be a good GM takes a lot of prep work. But what that prep work is depends. It depends on your group. It depends on the game you're playing. But in general, the most important thing I think to work on as a GM, and this is when I'm running a game, I'm doing it pretty much constantly as I'm just walking around doing other stuff, working or whatever.
Right.
Is thinking about the story you're trying to tell, thinking about how everything fits together, thinking about you want to conceptualize the canvas as a whole. You want to be thinking about what this is, because something like the stats for an NPC is this brushstroke here. The name of that town is this brushstroke over here. Those are important, but you need to understand what you're doing, because those things you can do that on the fly. I've done that plenty of times. At the table is, who's that blacksmith's name again? Tom the blacksmith. You just, something you have to do. You have to be able to do all of that kind of stuff on the fly. That being said, though, if you're talking about doing, a big game and you're setting high expectations for terrain and minis, then there's a lot of prep work. You're putting that on yourself, but I think that's an expectation that you create with your players beforehand.
I typically try to have at least one small piece of terrain per game. Something basic. I have some trees, I set them out on a mat, and then we're in the forest. You can kind of tell, forests would have more trees, but I'm not going to put that many trees. You wouldn't be able to see your minis on the table.
Yeah.
Maybe once per 4 games, I create a piece. A bit of stone work, a rumbled castle, maybe a tavern to go into. And that usually means something interesting is going to happen. It's that set piece. It's typically the last game of an arc. But that all takes a lot of time to prepare. Yeah. And you set that expectation. When I had made a set piece, and then I had a game where I didn't have 2 of my players, I just drew all these tents on that white board. Yeah. And then it worked just as well. Everyone played with the same amount of character. They understood what was happening on the field. I just didn't have 30 different tents that I had created out of paper and glue and stuff. So it has to do with... What?
I didn't say that you were lazy.
I was lazy. No, because I didn't know... That was one of those... Hey, the party happened to have done this while on the road.
Yeah.
Kind of an out-of-time... Yeah. It's called a danger room game, some people would call it.
Yes.
If I were to give a number to it, I would say you need at least an hour. It needs to be the same amount of time you would play the game.
Yeah.
So if it was going to be a 3-hour game, you need at least 3 hours of prep time. And then on top of that, 1 hour of prep time before the game begins.
Right.
So if it's a 3-hour game, you need throughout the week about 3 hours total. Could be an hour here each day.
Yeah.
And then an hour before the game to set things up, to get comfortable and realize I don't have the blacksmith's name. I don't know the name of this town. And you start jotting notes, whether you use a notebook. Sometimes I'll use cue cards, index cards. I like that because I can rip off a piece and go, hey, here's your potion. Yeah. Here's the letter that you need to give to the captain of the guard. And so then they hand it back to me.
That's a good point, just like from a practical supply standpoint. Mm-hmm. You need to always make sure that you've got the pens and the paper and the materials in front of you. I talk about it's really important to be able to think on the fly and create on the fly. You have to have the materials in front of you to be able to do that. You have to have, here's your potion that I just made up. You have to be able to do that. Yeah, I agree. I think, an hour per hour game time is a good kind of benchmark to shoot for. But yeah, I think overall...
I usually spend double. If I know I've got a game that week...
Doing terrain-y type stuff, yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm usually painting stuff, just kind of... And I'm watching TV, or I'm listening to music, so it's not like, leave me alone, I have to study. Yeah. But I do spend about 5 to 6 hours for a 3-hour game, to 3 to 4 hour game. And that way, when everyone's there, I like to make it feel like you're surrounded by this world. Any direction you go, there's life, there's something happening.
That's what I'd say is the best prep I can do for a game is to prep in a non-intentional way. Mm-hmm. You need to, that's why I say, looking at the whole canvas, you have to understand the world that they're going to be in and say, this session, I've got this encounter. I'm going to prepare for this encounter. This is going to be the signature encounter of the night. But you also need to prep and say, I've got this and this and this and this. And then when they go in that direction, they find this. And that pushes them back this way, where they find the big encounter. So, you need to make sure that you have what you need to get to where you want to be.
Sometimes you'll overplan, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because everything else that you planned can be recycled.
It's always better to overplan than underplan, that's for sure.
Instead of it being a pirate ship that they hop onto, now they run into the same cast of characters, but they are robbing the horse wagon train. Yeah. It's the same characters, it's the same thing going to happen, but it moves around to suit the needs, maybe in the next game or the game after that. Absolutely. I rarely have an NPC that goes unused. They just end up ghosting around. Instead of being in this town as the blacksmith, they're in the next town over as the barkeep. It works just as well.
Same with minis, with terrain, a little bit of prep work in that direction, you can reuse things. You can...
Yeah, and if you prep smart, you can use it over and over again.
Yeah.
If you go ahead and write down the statistics for this tavern, then you can just change the name of the tavern and have it be the same thing somewhere else and use it over and over again. So if you work smart, you don't have to do as much. But people like me who like to do terrain, I'm doing twice as much. And I don't always need to, and I have to remind myself of that. But I hold myself like I have like really high standards.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I was looking, I see the mic audio, but that's from the camera. I'm sorry, I was looking at our audio levels here. You see it's the bottom one, has the audio input capture.
That's this fella.
That's this
here.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw Mike, like, oh no, we're just using the camera audio, which isn't bad, but it's not as good.
Mr. Snowball.
Not as good.
Thanks,
Mr.
Blue.
Snowball.
You made good equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Gilly Elise. We really appreciate it. Again, for anybody watching this evening, if you have questions you'd like us to answer, please ask in the chat here. And at the end of the episode, we're going to pick some folks who asked those questions. We'll answer any ones we haven't answered yet, and we will probably do some fun giveaways as well. So,
we're coming to that point, so now's the time. It's the last question blast.
We're going to kind of draw. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's do.
Okay.
Let's put this last plug for questions. Please ask questions while you guys think about that.
Comment, and also like the video if you haven't already. I don't know if that'll do anything,
yeah.
But I'd like to see you do it. See
why
that it works.
Why don't we, while they do that, why don't we wrap up and talk about projects and kind of where we're headed?
Okay.
And then we'll do any other questions we haven't answered and finish up.
Yes. One of the things that we're going to continue to do was the FoundryCast plays, and that's where we take some of our older games, the retro games, do maybe 20, 30 minutes on it, talk about what we remember of the game. As we're moving into the next month, we're going to do kind of the same thing, but it's going to evolve a little bit. So you'll learn more about that in our next actual normal podcast.
I'll say, if you liked FoundryCast Plays, there's going to be one, I'm hoping maybe tomorrow. I'm going to get the next episode of that up.
Nice.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go to our YouTube channel, or the FoundryCast on YouTube, and check out that first episode. There should be a link on our Facebook as well if you haven't seen it. The one that Nintendo makes money off of now. But yeah, we're going to be playing some more retro games. I'm hoping maybe this week we'll get a chance to play some more now that I have my new capture card, and upload some more of those videos and play some other stuff too.
Other stuff.
Say that. We also have another new series that, pardon me, just got started, called the FoundryCast Reviews.
You see, our naming acumen, it's kind of limited for now. But things beyond that are going to have different names.
I like it when it says what's on the tin. I've done some other videos on my YouTube that are let's relax. Yeah, that's what it is. We're sitting and playing a game.
Yeah, say what it is.
I like that. I like that sort of naming scheme. But yeah, the FoundryCast Reviews is our review series. We're starting out with some board games that we've got a chance to play recently. Who knows? We might branch that out into D&D modules, into video games, into movies maybe. Who knows? We'll go in different directions with that. But for now, that video just went up on our YouTube yesterday, where I review Onitama, a game that we discovered recently that we really like.
Onitama, and then you have another one coming out soon, and then we have two more that we're getting ready to record. One of those is a Kickstarter game that I backed called 5 Minute Dungeon. Yeah. Which we need 5 players. I think it's going to be a blast. It's really quick, and instead of it being competitive, it's cooperative. All 5 people are trying to beat this dungeon within 5 minutes, and we all have cards that we can play to help defeat monsters. And then as you defeat a level, after that 5 minutes, if you win, we'll go on to the next level of the dungeon. And I think there are about 5 levels, maybe 6. I think there was an extra one that you got with Kickstarter. So the game in total runs about 30 minutes. If you survive that long. If not, you only make it through the second dungeon and you don't make it, that's where the game ends. So it's a lot of fun, very exciting. I'm thrilled to get to play that.
We might do a plays and a reviews video on that.
It's a play views.
That might be a twofer on that game, so yeah.
And then I've been dying to play Munchkin Quest. I have Munchkin. I have all of the booster packs for the original Munchkin through Munchkin, I think it's 7 or 8. There's like boosters that augment it. I love playing that game. My wife is a complete diva at that game, and she gets really upset when I beat her at Munchkin Zombies. I did that at Well Played last week. Got to play with Mr. Chris and his beautiful fiancée Kel, and he and I kind of palled up because the women were vicious and palled up against us.
You gotta get her around. She's good at the game, man.
She is good. She knows what she's doing. She's strategic. But the Quest game, it's more of a board game style, and the monsters will move about the board in predictable ways.
Is that a well played?
I don't remember seeing it at Well Played, but I have it.
Okay, I didn't remember seeing it over there. I was just asking. I'd like to do a reviews on Machikoro as well.
Machikoro is one we gotta do.
If we would just get like 3 or 4 people together to play that, that'd be fun.
I enjoyed that one. It was one that surprised me.
Yeah.
And then Jaipur.
That was fun. I wouldn't mind recording that again and playing that. Doing reviews on that as well.
Not the most complicated game, but it seems like there are about 3 different ways to play.
Yeah.
And all of them are very valid, and any of them can win. You just never know how the cards are going to be played.
So I don't know what else do we have on the tap. Do you have any other projects in mind?
I've been working on a video about reviewing my comic book haul from Comic Book Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, Free Comic Book Day, which I didn't get a chance to go to.
I have some very strong opinions about that.
I'd love to hear.
We've got a free free RPG day coming up.
I'd like
soon.
to go to Wyvern's Tale when that happens. That's on a Saturday as well, though.
It's a Saturday.
Yeah, it'll be tough to.
It's tough with work, man.
Yeah.
Why do they do that on days when everybody else is off? But those of us who work in the service and tourism industry,
we're here to serve everybody on the Saturdays that they have off. But pardon me. I will say one other thing, just briefly, kind of to that end. I'm really bummed. I keep saying North Carolina. Asheville Comic-Con was this past Saturday.
Yeah.
And I'm really sad I didn't get to go. I saw some pictures. There was actually some really good costuming going on there, which was fun. Small gathering at the Ag Center, so it wasn't a huge deal, but I'm really bummed that we didn't get a chance to attend. Maybe next year, though. But we've talked about in previous episodes, we're going to be at Raleigh SuperCon this year, which is coming up very quickly, about 2 months away now, about 60 days. And then another month and a half after that, Dragon Con in Atlanta, the biggie. I'll be at that. Still trying to decide if you'll be able to go. We'll see.
Here's the toughest thing about our culture, if you will.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. You can come over to my house, give me an hour.
Yeah.
All you need is a piece of notebook paper, and I can help you roll up a character.
Sure.
I can loan you dice, and I will take you into a world of adventure and excitement for free. All it costs you is 1 sheet of notebook paper, maybe a number 2 pencil, hopefully sharpened. I don't have any sharpeners in my house. Got a mechanical, then you're even better off. But I want to go to the con. There's a price involved with the convention itself. I understand that. I'm willing to pay the premium
the ticket
to
price
go to the
is
show.
The least important thing.
That's the least important thing.
You got to worry about gas money to get there. You got to worry about the hotel to stay the whole time.
I can hitchhike. Look at this thumb, man. This thumb is awesome. I can get there easy.
Show that leg.
It's the hotel.
Yeah, it
is the accommodations to stay there. Yeah. It is an absolute criminal thing that they do, and this is what they do in Atlanta for all NBA games. They did it when the Olympics came through in '96. They just jack the prices because they know someone's going to buy it.
The price is what the market will bear, I guess. It's tough. I mean, it's easier to find stuff further out, but even then, you've got to deal with getting to the con every day, and I've done that before, and it's a huge pain in the butt. I've recently, in the past couple of years, paid the premium to stay there, and has its own very, very real monetary costs. So, but yeah,
I'm just hoping one of our friends, like their significant other, has to be hospitalized or fly across country to take care of an ailing aunt or something, and so that they just need someone to squat in the room,
watch their house for them.
Yeah. So that way I can go much cheaper. I would like to go, and who knows? There's a lot of opportunity for fame and fortune between now and then.
Yeah.
I'm more excited about focusing on July.
Yeah, I was going to say, you may get to SuperCon, you may hate it. You never know. Cons are a different thing than anything else in our hobby. You may not like it. So when you get a chance to go down there and check that out, we'll see what you feel like on Dragon Con. Of course, Dragon Con is very different from a lot of other cons too, but we'll talk more about that going forward.
All right, last call on questions. You guys have about another 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes to put in any last questions for us to answer before we wrap things up. We're running a little bit longer than expected, but some of you have been hanging out with us, and we don't mind.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys being here with us.
Yeah, this has been totally experimental. Yeah. We're going to go back and check this out and see what we think about doing it live.
This was literally a spur-of-the-moment decision. We were talking on I forget which day.
Saturday
was
it?
Saturday.
Friday? It was when we got together on Thursday night.
We got together. We were gonna record, and I was like, I'm not feeling great. We were like, what would be fun is to do a live one. And we said, you know what? Let's just do it Monday. It's the episode 20.
Yeah, I thought we'd do it in like another 3 weeks or something. Let's do this podcast. Let's do the next one for our next month and reveal the theme. And then, because we do one every month. This being retro month, the next month being not gonna say it. You gotta stay tuned for the next podcast. I'll just say it's retro inspired. I'll give that little teaser.
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be so much fun.
We've got some good.
We have a field trip.
We have another field trip. I'm excited about. Very excited.
Yeah.
Sorry to bang the table, but I'm excited about this next month and this field trip. But yeah, I'm sorry. I don't even
remember what I was saying now. And I thought we'd just push it out a little bit.
Yeah.
We thought, let's just go. Let's do this. Let's see what it's like.
We have the setup for the most part. We've done streaming before. Mm-hmm. I would like to have done a little bit more in terms of graphics and stuff that we're seeing, but I think this is my computer troubles today hurt me.
This is better than what I see on most YouTube videos of guys who just review. They spend longer than the movie bitching about the movie.
Well, hey, I could bitch about movies all night.
I'm not going to bitch longer than the movie itself. I can complain about Suicide Squad for 10 minutes and compliment it for 2. And
I can complain about days about movies I love. I could complain about Star Wars Episode 7 for days. I love that movie. I could hate on it for days. I'm a critic, though. I'm just a critic at heart, I guess.
You're just a curmudgeon.
I'm just an old curmudgeon. But yeah, last call for any other questions. You want to take a quick break before we finish up, or what do you feel like?
If I take a break, I'm going to need another 3 beers, and I'm going to finish this whiskey cake, this chocolate whiskey cake. So I don't know. Do you need to take a break?
Let's take one quick, just kick out and back.
2 minutes.
And then this will give you a chance to get in any more questions. We really want questions from our audience. Please, please, please shoot them our way. There's something in it for you. You can get a chance to win a fun prize at the end. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll answer questions from the audience.
And Amaryllis Mercado, if you're just joining us, if you have any questions before we go, throw it down in the comment section. We'll answer it, and you could be entered into a contest to win a special prize.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you back in just a second.
We'll be right back. Whoa.
I'm wearing my cloak of invisibility.
He's Slender Man.
Whoa, that is weird. That is kind of weird. I'm just a head and just a weird stick of a thing.
Wrap it. There you go. Just a disembodied head.
Yeah.
We'll do that for the Halloween episode. We'll just be heads on sticks or something.
That'd be cool. Kind of like they did on they used to do on Conan O'Brien, where they would have like the
year 2000 thing. 2000. That would be funny.
Well, just wrapping up a little bit. It's been a really fun, weird, interesting week. Also, in personal lives, we've had weird occupational things. We've had weird technical glitches. It's sort of like the universe is telling us, don't do this live, but here we are, we persevered.
No, it's been good. Again, a lot of the stuff we've been doing lately has been partially learning experiences, experiments, but this has been a lot of fun. We were talking off the air about how we kind of want to do maybe more of this down the road.
Definitely want to do it for the 1 year anniversary of the first podcast. For sure. And so this could be a bigger thing. If we like having more people on here, so those of you who are commenting,
and again, thank you for joining us this evening. We really appreciate
that was
being here.
The most fun for me is to get some interactions, and so that's what I like. That's what I enjoyed about Twitch. That one night we had 100 people join us.
Just
half
all
of those were bots.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Some of those were legit people, and they were talking to us. That was so much fun.
I agree. It's good noise.
It's good. That's good audio.
Well, I guess let's wrap up. We wrapped up the episode as we normally would with a podcast already, but because we're doing this online, because we're interacting with folks, we said we were going to answer some questions from the audience, and we've reached the end of the episode. It's time to answer questions from the audience. So we've had, how many? 3 questions, I believe?
3
from the
specifically,
audience?
and we answered some along the way. Just because I felt it fit there.
We had one question from Gilly Elise, and she's asked a second one that we could answer now. I think would be good. So I'd say we've got one from her, we've got one from our friend Chris, and one from our friend Amaryllis. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
just here this evening. Joined us recently.
This morning.
Whatever. Depends on where you are. If you're in Dubai, it's probably morning by now.
So let's go with...
I'll let you go.
Let's do Gilly's question first.
Okay.
In the order there.
She asked, speaking of cons, because we were talking about the cons we're going to, she said, if you have unlimited funds and resources, what would you cosplay as, or who would you cosplay as? Actually, we talked about this in a really long time ago podcast, but let's say, who would you podcast as? What character would you do?
What would I cosplay as?
Yeah. Unlimited funds, going to Dragon Con.
Man, the thing about me being a builder and a crafter, it'd be something that I want to make,
right?
Learn how to make. So you're saying unlimited funds.
You have a workshop now. And
that's the
skills
thing.
To do it.
I would want to do full Iron Man armor, not the super slick Iron Man armor that's just a cod piece and like plastic around your nipples, but one of the larger
Iron Man movie you've been watching.
There's some out there, but no, like the Hulkbuster armor.
Oh yeah, the big, like the ones where you're on stilts.
Yeah, because one of my original ideas to go to a con was to create a steampunk artificial man, to be a steampunk robot. So it was made out of faux wood to look like a barrel, and then other pieces.
Steam
and
pipe out the back.
Yeah. And that would actually have some little fog effects that would work.
They don't let you do that. Or at least Dragon Con doesn't. No fog.
Oh, yeah, I could turn that off.
Just kidding.
Yeah, just smoking out everything. But then to have someone like bring it in like I'm a prop.
Yeah, roll you in
and set me up.
Yeah.
And then have some like mechanical thing and then I could digitize my voice but still be me and talk. So
make it sound like you're on an old gramophone.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? My name is Archimedes Mark III. It's nice to meet you, sir.
That would be really cool. I looked at maybe earlier in the year, I was trying to find inspiration for a Dragon Con costume. I looked at doing a character from Overwatch called Reinhardt. It would be that. He's a giant.
Yeah.
He's in a giant suit of armor.
Yeah,
he has like a flaming reactor on his back. And I was like, I want to do that. I can't afford it. No way. No way. So,
well, I had a dream 2 nights ago that I went to some store, and it's because I had just gone to Spencer's Gifts and what's the one right beside it? Hot Topic. We were looking for spinners for my wife's classroom because she's gonna like, hey, if you guys study and you work hard, I'm gonna give you a spinner at the end of the year, like to take home over the summer and lose, not to have it in the classroom. So we went to those places, and I saw a sick Star-Lord hat at Spencer's. Like red leather. It looked fantastic. I was like, okay, out of all the garbage in there, this is cool. I want this. And then they have the replica jackets for like $100 at Hot Topic. And I was like, okay, if I were to wear that at con, people would go, you got that at Hot Topic. So I thought, I do have some seamstress friends. I wonder if I could. And just that thought made me dream that I found the perfect jacket and that all it needed was like this one pipe stitched in pipeline and that it would have been perfect. And then I wore it and I got it for like $30. And I was so excited. My whole dream was about me going to a convention like a perfect Star-Lord. Like, okay, now I need to go and make the mask and the guns. That's the easy part. I think the jacket, the costume's the harder part.
Clothing
the props.
is really tough. Actually, speaking of, it hits towards mine answer. So, actually, this is... I'm just going to throw this out because it's in my brain right now.
Just throw it.
Genuinely a costume idea that I'm playing with right now, and we're 100 days to Dragon Con right now, so I'm not sure it's going to be able to happen. But Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy, the Michael Rooker version.
Jeez.
I love that character in those movies. He is so much fun. He great performance. It's the first time this year I've been really inspired to do a costume. If I had the money, for sure it's done. Even without, I am sitting here right now strongly considering trying to do that costume.
The toughest part, really, it's not the costume. It's going to be the skin.
No,
it's going to be getting your skin blue.
That's
easy. Not going to smear off and look like you dabbed
body
blue
paint?
makeup.
No, they make. No, trust me, they make great body paint.
And then if you're doing a bald cap or you're shaving your head, and then having the skin fold where your fin sits in.
Yeah,
that's the tough.
I'm not worried about
tough.
that. The biggest concern with that is his outfit. He has,
but you can
leather,
stylistic
everything. Maybe.
Dude, where's my leather?
Maybe, but
I've got that leather over there. I got.
Here's the thing.
Walmart.
Here's the thing. When I do a costume, I'm not interested in making it look sort of like it. It needs to be screen accurate.
No, you can do it screen accurate. All you have to do is fold fold that over, and then you sew it down, and then you've got that piping.
I'm not
you
that good with leather, though.
You could do it.
So, I don't. We'll see. But if I had unlimited time and money, that's what I would do. I don't have either. I might still do it. We'll see. I don't know. Thank you for the question, though. Appreciate it.
That's a good question. Let's go to Amaryllis.
Yes.
Awesome chick.
Really good question. I love this. This is good. This is unusual.
Because I think we might have talked about it like episode 1,
like
episode
in the very
2.
beginning. Yeah,
that was like 18 episodes ago, if you will.
8 months ago, probably. Maybe longer than that.
Where did we come up with the name?
So where did the FoundryCast name come from? Well, so actually interesting. We did a video on this, which I think is still on our Foundry. The FoundryCast name specifically is a offshoot of the original name, which was the Foundry. We came up.
I don't
with
know if you can see the original sticker.
We still have branding for it and everything. We came up with the name of the Foundry originally, and then the FoundryCast was the podcast that we were doing as part of it, which is what we're sitting here doing right now.
Yes.
Over time, we worked on a few different things. We realized that the Foundry is taken in some cases.
It's very
to be perfectly
popular.
honest in terms of practical stuff.
We're very hard to find even on YouTube.
Sure, yeah. The Foundry itself is taken, but we also, because the podcast was kind of central to everything that we were doing, we decided we're just going to rebrand as the FoundryCast. And so we decided to do that. We're FoundryCast, and everything we do is off of that. It still is cute because a foundry is a metalworking facility, and they do castings, so it still works okay. But let's talk about where we got the Foundry from.
Well, it was interesting because we talked about doing something collaboratively before.
Yeah, for a couple of years,
we got very... I can see the sticker. Thank you. One of our close friends started a website, and it's Geek Potpourri.
Yeah, shout out to John.
www.geekpotpourri.
Was watching this earlier. I'm not sure if he's still here, but
I don't think he's still here.
Go check out Geek Potpourri. Him and Emma and some other folks. I'm a contributor. I've done some stuff for them, and there's some other folks that contribute too. But they do some fun stuff on there. Go check them out.
And we wanted to do something different. So while you were still contributing to what they were doing.
Yeah, I started separately before you and I started as 9 to 5 Gamer. I was doing some videos, and which you can still see on my YouTube, 9 to 5 Gamer.
And I'm Crafty Bastard Gamer, although I do go by Crafty B Gamer a couple times just because
plugs there
for the kids. But I need to come up with a name. And originally, and this is part of our end-of-year goal that I talked about, wanting to have something that our fans could get a hold of, whether it be a game module, they could buy something online. I was trying to come up with a name.
Yeah.
And my high school mascot was Falcon. Favorite color, blue. Yeah. Blue Falcon is one of my favorite cartoon characters.
Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
We've talked about Blue Falcon and Dynamite before.
I don't think that made it the cut, but we talked about that last week.
But there's a military term about Blue Falcon.
Yeah.
And that's buddy effer. And if someone's a Blue Falcon, you're a person who screws over your buddy. And I am so mad that that's a thing.
Yeah, don't be that.
I wanted to be like Blue Falcon Games.
Right.
But then I thought, okay, what about Black Falcon Games? And I looked around and I tested that out, how it sounded as a moniker, and it just didn't work for me. And it was during a Pathfinder session that I was talking to the nerds at large and just throwing out some ideas. And I said, Crafty Bastard. And everyone's like, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
like,
good.
Okay, you know what? I will stick with that, Crafty Bastard. Even though it's got the B word in it. And that I started building my brand in there. But as we were talking, we were trying to figure out what we were all about.
Yeah, we knew we wanted to collab. We knew a podcast was going to be part of that.
Right.
But we also knew we were going to do some videos and other things too. We said, what do we both do? We were super corporate about it. We said, what's our brand? What is our brand of content? And we're still playing with that, but what is our brand of content that we're creating?
What is it that makes us unique,
We said, what do we both do?
We're not the angry video game nerd.
No, we're not.
And we're not Looper. We're not
PewDiePie.
Watch Mojo. We're not PewDiePie.
We're not.
What are we? And so corporate.
We were sitting down. We said, well, we like to paint minis. Mm-hmm. You build terrain. We both built terrain. You do a lot of terrain work. I was doing, especially at the time, I was doing a ton of costuming work for Dragon Con last year, which I'm still doing. We said, well, we're both making stuff. We make stuff. We create. Not just content creation, which is the buzzword about making a video or a YouTube. Or
the word content is buzzy.
But we're creating things. So we said, let's find. Look at my tie.
I'll tell you that joke later. That story. Joe's just trying to take the piss out of it, make me laugh.
Thank you for
he succeeded. It has.
Anyway, we said let's think of names that evoke creation, making things. And actually, literally, the Foundry was like the first name that came to mind.
There was something else we were leaning on, something else, because we thought about something, because we realized what we were thinking was like, sounded like Geek and Sundry. Like Sundry.
But I'm just thinking, I remember, actually it was right here, I remember driving down the hill in my apartment complex.
Yeah.
And I was like, what can the name be? Foundry, the Foundry. You found things, you create things. The Foundry is a metalworking. They pour metal, they create.
Yeah.
Raw, create. I was like, that sounds right. And I was like, we can't use it. I went online. There were the Foundry. There's all kinds of, you can't
churches.
There's a youth group, church group that's called. Yeah, I was like, no, we can't use it. We can't. And I spent like a week trying to find out other names. And we met up one day and we were like, we got to figure out a name. Went through all these different things. And I was like, I really like the Foundry. Mm-hmm. We're like,
now that's where we had another word. I wish I could remember what it was. It was something like bounty or the sundry or some word in that
the same
area.
lines.
It just didn't feel right.
Yeah, exactly. That's the Foundry, for whatever, we were like, that just feels good. We're like, we can't use it though, but it feels right. And then we said, let's just use it. Let's just go. Let's just do it. Kind of what we do with everything. We spitball a bunch of stuff and then we go with our original idea because we're like, let's just make it happen.
Yeah.
So that's the Foundry. That's how it was born.
And so if you can see the sticker, I don't know,
it's the original branding. If you look on there to the side over here, there's a little icon that's a gear in a box. That's
just
the original. And then if you look at down here, right there, the FoundryCast logo is the gear cut in half with an RSS thing because it's broadcasting. Good friend of mine, Matt. Big shout out, hey Matt, way to go, buddy. He did this stuff for us. He's a budding graphic artist, and I asked him if he'd be interested in helping out, and he was like, absolutely. He did a bang up job. He took a couple weeks and
in his first couple passes, I thought we may need to look at something else.
No.
My opinion was the first couple passes at it. I wasn't feeling the font. Yeah. I wasn't feeling the structure.
He played with it. And
when we got the Foundry logo, I thought, we're nailing something here.
We're on it with the gear. And then, I'll be honest, I'm going to take credit.
Take credit.
I came up with this logo. I was like, what would be cool is the gear with the RSS.
When you showed me that, I thought, that's cool.
I'm like,
but that was just going to be for our podcast. So it was like, if you go to the Foundry, here's the Foundry with the logo.
And then the FoundryCast was on the FoundryCast page,
And then when we just kind of decided, when we're looking at the brand, we just need to sort of get the website taken care of, and the Foundry.com.
That was part of it. Yeah,
wasn't available.
When it came time to register the website, the Foundry.com was taken, so we were like, well,
it had to be something like the Foundry.fun,
which the Foundry.fart,
the Foundry.huh. And
so,
that wasn't going to be it. We wanted a .com. We wanted that legitimacy, like
that's easy.
Just because I don't know, it feels really good. Yeah. And we're like, the FoundryCast, should we? I don't know. And as we said before, that casting, the metal, it just felt okay.
It feels good.
So overnight, we redid everything on the website to make it look a little better, a little cleaner, and then we announced it on the podcast. And so it was like, overnight, the podcast came out, and then our logos changed, and our Facebook changed.
And
but it's been the same thing the whole time.
We're still developing, too. I mean, like this little spinny logo down...
Where is it?
Down here.
Get out of my on-air sign.
Here,
I paid a lot of money for
down
that.
Here. This little spinny logo I literally made today. From scratch because I lost all my data. So we're still developing that brand and how it looks. But that was a really long answer to a really simple question. But thank you for the question, That was really
Love
good.
You too, Joe.
Appreciate it.
And Any other questions? Just this is sort of a free for all.
Yeah, if you got another question, we're going to answer one more. If you've got this is your last chance to ask a question to be answered on this episode.
About who we are, what we do, any of the subjects tonight, anything about geek culture. No questions about Uranus. It looks really good, though. Thank you.
We did have a question. What is your favorite flavor of ice cream? The answer to that for both of us is thefoundrycast.com. Moving on. What's our other question we had? I didn't keep it. Did you keep it?
Which one?
Did Chris not have a question?
Chris did before. Oh, okay. Yeah. You're right. I'm sorry.
Let me scroll up. Yeah,
earlier, Cyrus mentioned he wasn't a fan of the DC movies, but was a fan of the DC shows.
Right.
Do you think Andrew Kreisberg and Greg Berlanti could have the same success with movies as they have with the shows?
Those are the guys that run the shows?
They're the guys who run the shows.
Okay.
If they had big movie budget and access to top tier of the DC universe, maybe. My feelings are Joss Whedon is a special kind of creature. And the Marvel House of Ideas are a special kind of creature because they went ahead and got their asses to work first.
Yeah.
So they were trying to figure out what would work, and this is what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode. For our website, we're looking at today forward as phase 2. We're not necessarily throwing money at something. It's not a huge evolution, but we're looking at the next stage of things, getting rid of what doesn't work, adding to what does. And Marvel did the same thing with... And I would say that part of phase 2 was their Netflix shows, which add more of a layer of story that support things to come in the future, like the Defender series.
To be fair, they got really lucky with their first try. Jon Favreau knocked it out of the park with the first Iron Man.
Yeah, and Iron Man, they didn't necessarily mean to have everything be everything with Iron Man.
It was just...
But they struck while the iron is hot.
Yeah, it was. Oh, they did
something DC talked about doing for years and never did.
Couldn't pull it off.
Why did we have some of the best Batman movies that no one else was doing superhero movies like that?
Quick aside: first Nolan movie, first Burton movie. Which one's better? Go.
First Nolan movie?
You have to choose.
You mean Batman?
No analysis. Which Batman?
No. I'm making sure you're saying Batman movie.
Yeah.
Oh, Burton.
Agreed. Moving on.
I love the new Batman, the first one.
Yeah.
That was a great...
You still think Batman 1990 is better?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh my
anyway,
God.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to
the
derail.
Original,
just popped in my
Jack Nicholson, followed by
Keaton.
The Penguin.
What a great
Keaton.
Who would have ever thought that Michael Keaton would be a great Batman?
Mr. Mom is going to be the best Batman of all time.
Anyway, sorry.
No,
I don't want to derail.
That's another hour of conversation about my love of Michael Keaton.
Call us Michael.
And if you're still doing Beetlejuice 2 like we've read that you might be...
please don't do Beetlejuice 2.
No, he could. Michael Keaton could do it. Now, crazy...
Okay,
Crazy Winona Ryder.
Michael Keaton could do it?
Michael Keaton could do it.
What's his name could not?
Tim Burton?
Tim Burton could not do because he'd be like, well, we gotta have Johnny Depp in there. Maybe Johnny Depp can be every character in the movie.
Michael Keaton would show up to set...
That's my Tim Burton impression.
With a Glock taped to his calf and would blow a hole right through Johnny Depp if he dared step on the set.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Huge derail. I apologize for that.
Well, what else were we talking about?
We were talking about the DC universe.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I will say that, yes, I think that if you... the question was...
Money doesn't mean that it's going to translate to a movie, though. And here's the thing I want to take with that. You can have great ideas... But when multi-millions and millions of dollars are being put where you have to worry about advertising, you have to worry about... And that's what happened. The same thing that happened to Batman v Superman. The same thing that happened to Suicide Squad. The same thing that happens to those is... How many reshoots do you have to do? That's
the... Okay, I'll say that, yes. I think that the guys who run the TV shows could do really good with more budget.
Oh, yeah.
Of course they could.
Actually, so I'm trying to catch up. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm catching up with Flash.
Uh-huh.
They did a musical episode. Yeah. Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
No, they got Kara from Supergirl to come over.
Yeah.
And it was this villain who's kind of omnipotent, but he's kind of like, you guys are having terrible relationships. I'm going to zap you into a dream world of musical to help you figure out the problem. Now, granted, he didn't say that till the end.
Oh, okay.
But every single person on the show could sing their ass off. And it was really entertaining.
Broadway people, I believe.
And then they went to the next episode, because it was all just people, like half the cast are Broadway stars. The next episode, they fought against Abracadabra, like this magical guy, but they had him from the future, so it's all nanotechnology.
Okay, sure.
You've got rocket ships flying down
the city. Because you can't just have magic.
It doesn't make sense.
You can. Just have magic.
Science fiction and magic
nobody cares.
No, you can't
just have it be magic.
Thor can't be
it's
magic.
Okay.
He has to be
Thor,
an alien.
Yeah, he has to be an alien.
He's
he
an
can't
alien.
be an Asgard. He's got to be an
He's an Asgard is another plane.
The point is...
I think they would do a wonderful job with more budget. And their shows are getting even better because they get a little more budget and they know how to squeeze out value.
Well, the problem is, like you say, anytime you introduce a bigger budget, you introduce a bunch of producers that want to... Were you watching me clap my arms?
Just to the screen, I look over. Your animation is so funny.
Anytime you introduce a bigger budget, you're introducing 5 or 6 different producers who want to show up and tell you, oh, no, it's not going to play in Peoria. You got to add more corn farmers or else they're not going to like it. What if Superman... and follow me here. What if Superman destroyed Smallville? I don't know why they're Jimmy Stewart. The point is, the more money you throw at something, the more...
What do you say he destroyed?
The more a bunch of idiots have to throw their stuff in. So that's the barrier you run into. And I will say that's part of the problem with DC is that it always feels like too much committee thinking. But the other problem with DC is Zack Snyder, is that he made a couple of movies that everybody thought were great. I mean, 300 is good for what it is. And they were like, he's great, he can do all the comic book movies now. Well, he can do a certain style of comic book. Mm-hmm. And Superman is not that style of comic book, but they shoehorned it in, and it doesn't work. It's just, it's a matter of tone. And
the last part about that I feel is a lot of these characters work better on the small screen because you can take time telling their stories. Yeah. And we give a crap.
There's also that. You have more time to develop characters. And
like, would you say Green Arrow is top tier?
No, of course not.
Maybe not, depending on what comic book, what time period. But he works better in the dark as your substitute for Batman with more realistic problems.
Yeah, he's a Batman with bow and arrow.
He's got a great rogues gallery, but then you have to reinvent all of those rogues so they make sense in a somewhat more realistic universe, and not have Green Arrow with a boxing glove on the end of his arrow. It doesn't make sense because it's got to be cartoonish for a comic book. And even Supergirl, in her show, they're able to tell better stories about Cyborg Superman, about Martian Manhunter. They added Superman to the show, and it's been okay. It's like, well, he's here because he's here. You still care more about Kara and her sister and the organization they work for and their friends than you really do about the Man of Steel. And he is the A-lister of all time.
And that's part of the problem that I think DC has had is that they try and... They think that they need to tell the story of Superman in a movie, and they don't. Everyone knows who Superman is.
Yeah.
You just... Batman almost... The Christopher Nolan movies... spend some time with that, but every Batman movie does. But like, you don't have to spend all this time. Where does Superman come from? And how did he learn to be? No, he's an alien, and he comes to the Earth.
And watch the other 5 movies.
You don't need to know that. Superman's a flying magic man who can shoot lasers out of his eyes and fights crime. Have him fight Lex Luthor and have him ham it up. Have fun.
Hey, let's move on real quick because we're still talking comic book movies.
Okay.
Joe just made a really interesting point about Marvel.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, the new, not Mr. Garfield, but the Tom Holland, who's playing Spider-Man in Civil War. He was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he was.
He's a young kid.
Yeah, they did a good job.
The new Spider-Man Homecoming looks interesting.
Yeah, we'll see.
I have high hopes for it.
I'm kind of worried about
it.
Michael
Keaton, so I'm going to be
thrilled.
Michael
Keaton is in it, and that's true. And there's a scene in the Marriott Marquis in Atlanta where I'll be staying for Dragon Con.
Oh, sweet.
There's a scene in the trailer where he swoops down through this, like, indoor...
is that that?
Oh. So, good job. But, yeah, I'm worried about it only because Iron Man is in the trailer a lot. And it feels
he's just there, I think, to set the tone. Because the idea is going to be that he's just there because because Peter Parker is just going out doing things, getting a name for himself.
Yeah.
So he takes his costume and he decides, I'm going to have to do this with or without my costume.
Well, I feel like he's in the trailer a lot, and it feels like they reveal a lot of the plot of the movie in the trailer. What I'm hoping is that all the stuff in the trailer happens in the first 20 minutes of the movie. Which, knowing Marvel, maybe that's what it happens, but that's the only thing.
Marvel's pretty good about keeping very important plot points hidden.
It's true.
You get some clues, but you have to really be dissecting the trailer to learn anything at all.
But no, I think the new trailer looks fun. I mean, in Civil War, Spider-Man was jumping around. That was the best part of Civil War is the airport fight. I was getting crap from our friends the other night when I was talking about when I watched Civil War on Netflix. I just jumped through to all the battle scenes. They're like, "How can you do that?"
I remember that.
The battle scenes are the best part of that movie. The part of the airport is the best part of that movie.
So much
all
fun.
the character stuff really isn't that good in Civil War. It really isn't. Sorry, guys, it just isn't, because it's too dour. They don't do it right. That fight at the airport is so much fun. You have all the characters being themselves.
Well, also
again.
a huge.
Just all of a sudden, the characters are themselves. Oh, look, Iron Man's back, and he's being. Look, Ant-Man's here, and he's being Ant-Man.
I'm a huge Paul Rudd fan,
he's
so
being Ant-Man. It's
seeing
great.
Ant-Man go
giant
giant,
man smashing.
because that was hidden from the previews.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you didn't know about it.
You didn't know about it, and then he's like,
"Ooh, so good."
and that's Paul Rudd for you.
So,
part of Joe's comment.
Yeah, sorry.
What do you think about the new Carnage movie? Cast Tom Hardy.
I'm pretty excited about that.
Somebody with some muscle.
I heard
on
some
his
people
bones.
complaining about Carnage. He's not big enough to be Carnage. What are you kidding me?
Is it Tom Hardy?
Who cares? It's Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Tom Hardy. Who cares? It's fine. No, it's all going to be CG anyway, so who cares? But yeah, no, Carnage and Venom are going to be fun. It feels like they're bringing that movie out too soon. They need to do a couple of Spider-Man movies before they introduce his most important villain.
It's not connected to Spider-Man, though.
At all.
It's
well,
because
it's a Sony
standalone.
movie.
It's a Sony movie.
Because this new one is now Marvel, and
And I
that's
don't know if
still
this is.
Sony.
I need to do some research. Maybe we'll talk about it on the next podcast. I'm going to research. It sounded like Fox is starting to lose control of some of these other franchises because they haven't made movies in enough time, or however that statute of limitations works. Yeah. Because they're not going to be able to do another Wolverine movie because the lead actor's gone. And they've already finished with the trilogy.
God, I hope
Marvel.
I hope Marvel gets the X-Men.
But they're not going to want to do anything.
Imagine the X-Men. In the next Avengers movie.
They would probably show up in Infinity
4.
Avengers 4.
After Infinity War's over, yeah.
But I don't think they even have the desire to do X-Men right now because...
Well, they have a couple X-Men movies already. Scarlet the Witch and... Well...
They're not mutants.
Spoiler alert. Just, they're enhanced humans, whatever.
They're metahumans. No, that's DC.
Yeah. No, I think they're enhanced humans.
Enhanced humans.
Whatever.
All right, well.
Anyway, yeah, I think that's it for our guest questions for the evening. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, sticking with us. If you've been here the whole time, we really appreciate it. If you popped in for a little bit, we also definitely appreciate it. And if you're watching this after the fact, we're going to leave this video up on our Facebook for perpetuity if you want to go back and watch it.
That's right.
Thank you for joining us. The whole podcast will be edited down into a normal format, and that'll be available on our Podbean, and we'll publish that on the Facebook and our website as well in a couple of days. I don't know. Any parting thoughts before we wrap up?
Let's get into the giveaway.
Oh, we do need to do a giveaway. You're right. I forgot. So we promised from the beginning. Before the episode started, we talked about we were going to do a giveaway. We said if you posted a question, we were going to pick some of our favorites and answer them. And then if we answered them, we might do a giveaway or two. So what are we giving away?
All right, I'm going to give an honorable mention.
Okay. You want to pick the person and then... I'm going to put it in your
honorable
hands.
mention.
Yeah, I'm going to sit here and finish this.
Even though Joe didn't ask a question, he had a really fantastic comment.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to give him a runner-up prize.
Thank you, Joe.
Joe, I'm going to send you, it may be small, but it's just right, and you know what I'm talking about. It's a $5 Starbucks gift card.
Oh, I thought it was a tie.
As a thank you. A tie? Look at my tie! He knows what's going on. I got a gift card with your name on it, buddy. Awesome. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your contribution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now the prize is quite special.
Yeah, we think so.
I think
we think so.
I think so.
But we think so.
And do you want to pick the winner?
Who do we want to give it to? Do we want to give it to everyone?
I want to give it to Amaryllis.
Amaryllis? Okay. I'm okay with that. You want to give it to Amaryllis?
I want to give it to Chris. No. I want to give it to Gilly.
Okay. Who do you want to give it to? You want to give it to nobody?
No.
You want to give it anything to anyone?
No, that's what I said.
You want to charge them for watching?
I want to...
Oh, no, we can do that after the episode. But in the meantime, we're going to give a prize to everybody.
Yeah, for Gilly and Amaryllis and Chris, we have been working hard, and we're coming out with a FoundryCast t-shirt.
Those will be ordered this week, in fact, is the plan. So what we want to do is, for being here with us here at the beginning and joining us for our very first live cast, we want to give you something special to make you a part of the FoundryCast family, and that is a t-shirt. We're going to do a t-shirt with our logo on the front, on the back, and
I'm not saying that Amaryllis has to wear it at Zumba one night. I'm not saying that Chris has to wear it proudly walking the streets of Australia. I'm not saying that Gilly...
Ooh, that's a heck of a marketing. Yeah, wear it down there.
He might. He's a cool bro like
Once
that.
in a while.
Yeah, if you feel like it. If you're feeling naughty. So we're going to reach out to you behind the scenes because we can connect with you on Facebook, and we'll get your sizes and all that and get them to you before you leave the country.
Yeah, please do reach out to us. If we don't, let us know. We'll get those printed up and sent your direction. Like I said, probably this week is when we're going to start our first order. But some apparel, some gear we're going to be wearing. We got a new viewer, Jenny Allison Stanley.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart, good friend of mine.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
you're joining us right here at the end as we're wrapping up, but that's okay.
She might have been watching. She may not have commented. Okay. I don't know. We'll give her the bunny feet of the doubt.
But yeah, congratulations to our 3 winners. Expect those shirts soon, and wear them proudly if you'd like. You don't have to. But yeah, we hope you like them. We hope you appreciate getting them, and we definitely appreciate you guys participating and being a part of the FoundryCast.
If you haven't already followed us on Twitter, apparently you're seeing us on Facebook, but if you haven't already followed the page, appreciate it if you do. Just hear the FoundryCast, and also you can find us on our own private accounts. You can just follow it through thefoundrycast.com has all of that.
FoundryCast.com is the best place to go. The Facebook, you can find all of our info there. Check out our new videos that are coming out on YouTube as well as we go. We're trying to build that up as well. But yeah, for thefoundrycast.com, we will wrap it up this evening. I am Crunch Buttshank.
And I am Ego, the Living Planet's other illegitimate child.
And see you next time. To the FoundryCast. Have a good night.
Bye. Here's where the music kind of outro happens. And then we'll just have to reach over and click a button.
Yep. Hang on. Let me change this. I'm gonna change this to what should I change it to?
I don't know. Thank you for watching. We're what? We're I think that works.
Okay.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time on FoundryCast. FoundryCast.com. FoundryCast.com.
FoundryCast. I tooted.